Staying in the comfort zone is never an option.
Maximum thread count we could possibly thread.
An industrial seamstress would make their sweet dreams come true.
I want it to feel like you're on a snowflake, on cotton candy, on marshmallows, on a cloud.
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job.
Jersey's home of the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Well, something to think about, for sure.
WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City. A town square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is 97.3 ESPN. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Now, live inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, here's Mike Gill.
Monday's edition of the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling in one more day for Mike Gill as he travels back from his little getaway to Pittsburgh this weekend with Phillies sports trips. Glad to have you guys on board the show today. As always, you can join the conversation. I'm sure a lot of you have a lot to say at 609-403-0973. That's the text board. You also can DM the show through the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank. And see how rough Phillies weekend, and not just on the field. There are some other things going on with the Phillies that are definitely a bit concerning as well, stuff that's not directly related to them. Plus, the good news is the NFL is underway, full scale, all hands on deck. And guess what? We got a little Eagles news to talk about as well today here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Let's set the stage for you guys today. Mike McGay of the Press Play Say joins us at 2:40. Bob Wankel from Crossing the Brawl Talk Phillies coming up at 3:25. Football and Forward, Jeff Motion from the Inside the Birds podcast, InsideTheBirds.com, joins us at 4 p.m. The Senior Press League NFL reporter and writer Rob Motti will join us coming up at 5 p.m. tonight. And coming up a little bit later in the show, what did Randy Moss have to say about the Eagles? He had a lot of high praise for a couple of guys in Eagles green. We'll get to that as well. Speaking of Eagles green, for more information about the Kelly green uniforms and when you will see the Eagles wearing them this year, go to our website, 973ESPN.com, or on the 973 ESPN mobile app. We got that article up there on the website for you right now. But I want to start with the Phillies because setting aside social media's inability for nuance, I'll call it. Look, the Phillies had a bad weekend, all right? And they had a bad weekend for a couple of specific reasons. Number one, it became very obvious to me this weekend that I don't know if a trade is going to fix this team. I think that's the most frustrating part of it for me. I think the Phillies have to figure themselves out because you beat the Orioles 2 out of 3, and then you lose the final 2 games of the series to the Pirates. And realistically, you should have won Sunday's game. You went to extra innings. You had a chance to win it, and you couldn't get the job done. It's very obvious, at least for me, and maybe you guys feel differently when you text in today to the show. I feel the problem is not going to be fixed by a trade. And considering how many guys have already been traded, I'm starting to get the feeling that there's only so much this Phillies team is going to be willing and able to do at the deadline. It's becoming very clear, at least for me, that this Phillies team is really good, but they got to get their heads out of the sand. At some point, there's got to be a level of accountability among these players, with these players in that locker room. Now, look, if the problem is a leadership issue and you told me that the only way that leadership issue is going to change is if you acquire a certain kind of leader, I can at least work with that. But I don't know if adding fill-in-the-blank player is going to fix this team. Look at the guys who have already been traded. Randall Grichuk is a right-handed bat. He got traded to the Angels. All right? Jordan Hicks, the bullpen arm from the Cardinals. He got traded to the Blue Jays. By the way, the Blue Jays had to give up one of their best prospects to get him. So that gives you an idea of the turnaround, the return on that trade a team is looking for that guy, which is why I thought all along Hicks was never coming to Philadelphia, because I doubted the Phillies were willing to give up a guy who was one of their top 10 prospects to get Hicks. That's what the Blue Jays did. I believe it was number 7 and number 13 is what they gave up to get him. A lot of teams making a lot of moves. And this is a bad, bad sign for the Phillies, because a lot of teams have already made their moves. A lot of teams have already, made the swings for their guys. And I'm starting to wonder, is this Phillies organization a little too dependent on who they already have in-house? We got to stop, and I'm speaking this in part to the people on social media. We got to stop blaming the manager for everything. At some point, Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, Trey Turner, Nick Castellanos, JT Realmuto, these are grown men who have been all-stars in this league. They got to get up off their rear and stop flailing on the field. The issues with runners in scoring position, the issues with the stupid errors in the field, the issues with the base running gaffes, none of that is the manager's fault. That is all the players. And these players got to start playing up to the level that they're capable of, or this organization is going nowhere. And unless you're trading one of these big name guys to get a different big name guy, to me, that's the only change that's going to happen. That's not going to fall on the shoulders of these players waking up, growing up, and getting their you-know-what together. It is absolutely and utterly embarrassing that these players are playing this way at the major leagues. These are mistakes that you might expect from a little league baseball team or from a junior high baseball team. You're not expecting these issues with major leaguers with the resumes these guys have. And I don't know what's going on in that locker room. I'm not in there. I'm not one of the players. But I got to think that somebody, somewhere, has to get up in that locker room and say, guys, this is unacceptable. We're playing like trash. Because I'm telling you guys right now, unless you're making a massive trade, I don't know where the upgrade is coming from. I've been looking up and down the rumor mill websites. I've been looking up and down everything everywhere. And it's sounding more and more like you're really just you're running out of ideas. Almost everyone we thought the Phillies could trade for is looking like they're unavailable. Now, the only guy guy that we've talked about that might still be a possibility is what the Red Sox got in Adam Duvall, because the Red Sox did give up on Kike Hernandez, and there's rumors they might trade Alex Verdugo. So maybe they do trade Duvall at some point. Maybe he does become available for the Phillies, and maybe that is your last hope on that front. But how much is Duvall changing this team? How much is Adam Duvall fixing the base running problems? Is Adam Duvall fixing the way these guys are playing baseball? You know, the Angels have already acquired 3 prime players, all people that would have looked really good in a Phillies uniform. They are going all in to win it. And this is why I get back to Dombrowski makes it sound like he thinks the team the Phillies have is good enough when he talks to the media. And I think that's part of the problem. I think part of the problem is the people who run the Phillies organization are like the dog meme, where the dog is in the middle of the fire and he says everything is fine. That's the Phillies organization right now. They think everything is A-okay, and it's not. And when potentially the best player available for you to add to this roster, and again, as of this moment, something could change between now and the deadline, obviously, but when potentially the best player you could add is a 261 hitter who's a one-time All-Star who has 9 homers and 29 RBI in 44 games, and you're going to acquire him because he's a right-handed bat who's a good fielding outfielder, it's a problem. And as I told you guys, at some point, these players got to get it together. They got to grow up. Now, look, if you want to blame part of yesterday's loss on the Phillies taking Christopher Sanchez out of the game too early, you can do that. Frankly, I don't know how much weight I give to Rob Thompson's explanation that he wasn't feeling well, that he's sick, that his stomach was bothering him. If you want to rock and roll with that theory, that's on you. I don't know how much I buy into that. I don't know how much I buy into the reality that you pulled him out for that reason. But it's obvious that the Phillies, for all the talent that they have, they're not playing up to their expectations, up to their resumes, up to their abilities. And unless there's a major shakeup coming that's going to shock this team into waking up and stop going through the motions, then I don't know what to tell you guys. Because you should have taken 2 out of 3 against the Pirates. You now got 4 games against the Marlins. And 2 of those games are against some of their better pitching. Sandy Alcantara's been pitching way better recently. You got to face him tomorrow night. And just because you got Walker, Suarez, Wheeler, and Nola doesn't mean much. Because as we already know, this team, for whatever reason, seems to just struggle against the most random people. You look at who they have going in this series, okay? As I mentioned, Alcantara is pitching way better recently. And the last time you saw Braxton Garrett, even though Garrett only gave up 3 runs, the Marlins won the game. And the Marlins bullpen is better today than it was the last time we saw him after acquiring Dave Robertson. Kansas City Royals, on paper, are one of the worst teams in baseball, so are the Nationals. You have 7 games against them coming up, all at home. You better win 5 of those 7. You better win 3 out of 4 against the Marlins. Because once Tuesday goes by, there's no more improvements for this team. This is a Phillies team that took 2 out of 3 against the Orioles, that took 3 out of 4 against the Padres. But they struggled against the Brewers and the Guardians. They couldn't put away Pittsburgh. So which team is this? Is it the team that beats some of the biggest names in the sport? Or is the team that struggles against teams with half the talent? I mean, the Phillies, they swept the Rays before the All-Star break. They beat up on the Mets 2 out of 3 games. They went on the road and they took out the Arizona Diamondbacks 3 out of those 4 games. And the Dodgers, you beat them 2 out of 3. You went to Atlanta earlier this year and you split the series 2 of 4 against Atlanta. The resume says you can win ball games. So why are you playing like idiots? (609-403-0973). That's the text board. Jeff in Ocean City chimes in. He says, I feel the Phillies are on the same path as last year, squeezing into the final wildcard spot and then hope to see what happens. I know I'm in the minority, but I want to see another starting pitcher at the deadline. That's Jeff in Ocean City. Well, 2 points there, Jeff. One, I understand what you're saying, but you see them on the same path as last year. But part of the reason why they got on that path last year is because of the way they played from June to August. They were absolutely on fire. They struggled in the month of September, and that's why they squeezed in. This team is about the same number of wins as last year, but it feels different because this team was expected to be good this year. Last year, people kept taking the wait and see approach. I think that's a part of the problem. Jeff, I don't know if the starting pitcher fixes anything for this team right now. Christopher Sanchez has now pitched multiple games where they should have won. They talked about this on the broadcast yesterday, Tom McCarthy and Ruben Amaro, about how Sanchez has multiple games now where the Phillies lost the game for him. Look at what he did yesterday. For all of his so-called stomach problems, he allowed no earned runs and no hits over 5 innings. The game before that, 7 innings, 2 earned runs allowed. The game before that, 5 innings, 1 earned run. And then go back to July 6th. Against the Tampa Bay Rays, one of the best teams all of baseball, 6 innings, 1 run allowed. I don't know if starting pitching is the answer, Jeff, in Ocean City. Because if your 5 starters giving you that, you have no reason not to win those games. And yet the Phillies only won one of those games I just told you about. Anonymous texter chimes in on the messages. Says, Josh, you said the Phillies are really good. What are they good at? I can see another September collapse coming because the bullpen is showing cracks. Alvarado is hurt. Sir Anthony Dominguez is not reliable. Kimbrel has pitched a ton. And he's not going to last. Well, here's the thing, anonymous texter. They're really good because their team is really good. They have a roster full of all-star players. You go off of their resumes, they're really good. They have good hitters. They have good pitchers. Zach Wheeler is pitching out of his mind lately. He's really good. Bryce Harper has started hitting better now that he's at first base playing in the field. He's a former MVP. He's really good. Kyle Schwarber led the National League in home runs last year, has a chance to do the same thing again this year. He's really good. Nick Castellanos, all-star back this year. His resume says he's really good. GT Realmuto, we were told, is the best catcher in baseball. And defensively he is. Offensively he has struggled. But his resume says he is really good. So it's easy for you to question What are the Phillies good at? Their roster is really good. That's what I'm talking about. Now, if you were to tell me, you mentioned the bullpen, the Phillies need to go out and acquire some bullpen help, I wouldn't be against that. I mean, you look what they decided to do with Noah Song. Excuse me. Song is not coming up to the major leagues. He was designated for assignment, which basically means that he's not going to play in Philadelphia. The Phillies seemingly gave him every opportunity to try to figure this thing out, and he just couldn't. And I think that the Phillies are indirectly saying that, the Noah Song experiment, they couldn't keep going with it. And I think that's probably the larger problem here. They don't have any reinforcements coming. Now, the Phillies can trade him before the deadline and maybe use him in a trade to get something. But if they put him on waivers, he has to go back to the Red Sox. So, maybe the designated for assignment means that he's going to get traded. But it seems very much like to me that the Phillies were to make a trade, it might be to help the bullpen at this point. Like I said, I don't know if getting a right-handed hitter is necessarily going to fix this team's problems. All right, continue your text on the other side, 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Still to come, Mike McGarry, the press of Atlantic City at 2:40. Bob Wankel from Crossing, Brawl Talk Phillies at 3:20. And then football at 4. Jeff Mosher, 5 p.m. AP NFL writer Rob Motti. All that and more still to come. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle.
You haven't downloaded the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app? Well, go get it now to follow all the Philly sports teams at 97.3ESPN.com, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Why would someone looking for a mortgage at the Jersey Shore take a loan from a company in Detroit or North Carolina or some other far-off place? Online mortgages promise a lot, but don't always deliver. First Bank of Sea Isle City knows the Jersey Shore. We are local lenders. We use local appraisers and provide in-house processing. We understand the unique obstacles of financing in Cape May County. Don't take a chance. Local banking is better. Let us guide you. First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
That's Mike saying good morning. It's the best he can do right now. Yeah, not a cloud in the sky. What Mike could use is a fresh start. And Irish Spring Body Wash. The fresh scent of Irish Spring and those sensational Irish Spring suds are just the reset Mike needs. Now he's ready
To go to work.
It's Sunday. Irish Spring. When the spring hits you, you're ready. Pick up Irish Spring today.
Do the bump, do the hustle, do the funky chicken. But whatever you do, get down to Royal Farms Chicken Palooza. Right now, get a 3-piece world-famous chicken meal. White, dark, or chicken tenders with Western fries for just $6, with a portion of each chicken meal sale donated to local charities. Can you dig it? Plus, register to win world-famous chicken for a year. That's a 3-piece world-famous chicken meal with Western fries for only $6. Don't stop till you get enough. But hurry, Royal Farms Chicken Palooza is only for a limited time. So boogie on in for Royal Farms Chicken Palooza. Going on now, and it's just the way. You like it. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms. No purchase necessary to enter or win. Sweepstakes ends August 31st, 2023. Chicken for a year prize to be awarded as 8 $100 Royal Farms gift cards. For details and official rules, visit royalfarms.com/chicken-palooza-sweepstakes. Void where prohibited. Sponsored by Royal Farms.
Bobby, did we get that shipment of mesquite?
Jim's woodworking shop worked fine
Good fit on those Japanese corners.
until half his staff retired.
Wow, those cuts are neat. I'm really going to miss your precision.
He needs 4 skilled woodworker bees ASAP.
All right, this jigsaw needs a new blade.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Our hiring platform instantly connects you with quality candidates, and you can schedule and conduct virtual interviews right from the Indeed dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Every business deserves a great deal. That's why, for a limited time, we're launching the Mobile Made Free event. With Comcast Business Internet, new and existing customers can get 1 year of unlimited mobile for free. Yep, you heard that right. An entire year. It's powered by the next generation 10G network and with 99.9% reliability, plus 1 line of free mobile for a year. The Mobile Made Free event is happening now.
Get started with fast speeds and advanced security for $49 a month for 12 months with no annual contract. Plus, ask how to get up to a $500 prepaid card with a qualifying bundle. Call or go online to learn more. Offer ends 9/21/2023. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and automatic payments. New 50 megabits per second internet and security edge customers only. Equipment, taxes, and other fees extra. After promo, regular rates apply. Mobile offer requires 100 megabits per second internet and new unlimited intro mobile service.
When you wake up well-rested on a great mattress, everything becomes clear.
I am just like my mother.
Things you missed when you were tired finally reveal themselves.
I should just get fake plants.
At Mattress Firm, we know the right mattress matters. Right now, save up to $600 and get a free adjustable base with select Sealy mattresses during our Black Friday Now sale. Shop in-store or online at mattressfirm.com. The right mattress matters. We'll find yours. Restrictions apply. See store or website for details.
The Chase Ink Business Premier Card is made for people who make things happen, like me. I'm Sam, founder and CEO of Manifest, a product design company that makes everyday products designed smarter. I get 2.5% cash back on purchases of $5,000 or more, plus unlimited 2% cash back on all other purchases, which helps us make more smart ideas into a brilliant reality.
The Ink Business Premier Card. Learn more at chase.com/business premier. Chase for business. Make more of what's yours. Real business owner compensated for their participation. Account subject to credit approval. Restrictions and limitations apply. Cards are issued by JP Morgan Chase Bank. Any member FDIC.
Was there water in your basement or crawl space from the recent storms? Perfect Basement, based in South Jersey, provides certified waterproofing, mold remediation, and foundation repair. One call to resolve it all. They work in basements, crawl spaces, attics, anywhere that moisture creates mold. Call Perfect Basement before mold becomes a problem and find out why realtors choose Perfect Basement for their fast response and expert service. Schedule a free inspection and check out their great reviews at perfectbasement.com.
Now, back to the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
Coming up in about 14 minutes, walk with Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. Josh and Blake from Mike Gill on a Monday edition of the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Also still to come, Randy Moss has some very interesting things to say about the Philadelphia Eagles. That'll be coming up a little bit later in the show as well. Back to the Phillies. I'll get to your text in just a minute. 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank. Now, I want to hit back on the manager thing for a real hot minute, okay? Because I've been stuck in this Twitter or X or whatever we're calling it now, but I've been stuck in this notification purgatory because I got roped into an ongoing back and forth between a couple of people on Twitter are having with Mike Gill, and I'm kind of involved too. Now, full disclosure, for anyone who knows me even a little bit, you know I'm not the biggest social media guy. I don't spend all of my waking hours on social media. You know, it's not my style. I'm not that kind of person. But as a result of that conversation, it's become very clear to me that there is some major nuance when it comes to the manager conversation, okay? Because a lot of people are trying to make it like it's all Rob Thompson's fault or what's going on with some of these. Why did Rob Thompson do this? Why did Rob Thompson do that? And here's my response. Whether you want to believe what former baseball executives have said, which is people who used to work in the league say that basically in the league, the manager, the lineup he hands in is, for lack of a better term, signed, sealed, and approved by the front office, okay? So whether you want to believe that theory or not, all right, here's how I'm going to frame it for you. Does anyone out there really believe that Rob Thompson is going to do anything that is contrary to what his bosses say and want? Just chew on that for a minute. You're given a job, right? You are the shift manager at your job, or you are the projects manager at your job, or whatever job you may have, and your responsibility is basically mid-level management, okay? Do you really think you're going to have that job if you don't do what your bosses want you to do? Do you really think that you get to keep your job if you don't execute what your boss tells you to execute on a day in and day out basis? Do you really think that you're going to have your job if you are doing things contrary to what your boss wants you to do? That's the simplest explanation we could have for what we're seeing from Rob Thompson. So, like, for example, when he pulled out Christopher Sanchez, most of the time, these pitchers have predetermined pitch counts. They have the front office and the pitching coach, and everybody gets together and decides, well, the analytics say we should start this guy because of the numbers, and this guy should only go X number of pitches, and such as that. So am I really supposed to believe that Rob Thompson is acting autonomously and that he is purely the problem? I'm not. Look, if you want to have a conversation about what Trey Turner's role should be on the team, well, they already knocked him down the lineup. Okay? They already kicked him down the lineup, taking him out of certain roles in the batting order. What else more do you want? You're paying the guy over $300 million. Is it Rob Thompson's fault that Trey Turner is playing poorly? Is it Rob Thompson's fault that Bryce Harper keeps having base running issues? Is it Rob Thompson's fault that Aaron Nola is the most inconsistent pitcher on this team? Is it Rob Thompson's fault that Sir Anthony Dominguez apparently can't get his life figured out to the point where he is actually doing his job properly? At some point, we got to hold the players accountable. That's my bigger point. I understand there's a lot of frustrations with the way the manager's handling things, but firing Rob Thompson is not going to fix the problem when the players, to me, are the larger problem. Now, I know that there are reports out there that the Phillies could acquire Adam Duvall. All Duvall is going to do is kick Jake Cave out of the starting lineup, basically. He'd be your left fielder. Schwarber's a DH. I told you guys the numbers earlier. He's having a solid season, but not a great season. I don't know how much he fixes this team's problems. I don't. The only guy that the Phillies could acquire, to me, hitting wise, and if they were willing to go all in on this move, if there was some outside possibility that Mike Trout would waive his no trade clause and come to Philadelphia, and the Phillies were able to acquire him without giving up every good prospect in their system, then I think that might be the move that could shake this team up. Because then what you're doing is you're bringing in a guy of a certain caliber, right? You're bringing in a guy who, that's when he walks in the room, everybody stops. To me, that's the only guy. The problem is Mike Trout is still coming back from an injury. All right. Mike Trout is, I don't know how many weeks away, but he's not coming back yet. I know he did what they call some dry swings a few days ago after having the stitches removed from his hand. But still, you're talking about a guy who they said 4 to 8 weeks. And that 4 to 8 weeks was July 5th. So we are currently around the 4 to 5 week mark. He should technically not be available and ready until probably the 2nd or 3rd week of August. So if you acquire him right now, he doesn't fix your problems in the short term. 609-403-0973. Anonymous chimes in and says the Phillies are swinging wildly. Maybe they need a new batting coach. Well, the problem with that is that Kevin Long is actually one of the best batting coaches in all of baseball. And you could argue that he has turned Brandon Marsh into an unplayable guy and into an everyday player as a hitter. He has helped and worked with Alec Boehm and made him a better contact hitter. Now he's basically the team leader in RBI. Kevin Long is a guy who was part of the reason why Kyle Schwarber even signed with this team in the first place. Kevin Long is an incredibly trusted guy. So am I supposed to blame the batting coach because maybe the players are not listening to him? Maybe you guys can explain, why don't we blame the players? Why is it the hitting coach? Why is it the manager? Why do I have people tweeting at me at Josh Hennig on Twitter that Rob Thompson's the worst? Why aren't the players the worst? Why isn't Turner the worst? Why isn't Harper the worst? Another text coming in says, I know, Josh, just remember, Mike always says on the Sports Bash, we should be pleasantly surprised if they do well. Yeah, but the problem is that Mike's not talking about pleasantly surprised in terms of them playing like normal baseball players. He's talking about, the idea that this was going to not be a season that was going to go easily because of the structure of this team, the guys coming off of injuries. That's what Mike was talking about. He's not talking about, hey, we got to be patient with the players because it's already July 31st. James chimes in on the DMs on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. I'm trying to read this correctly. He says, Josh, what are your thoughts on the Phillies bringing up Weston Wilson from AAA? He has 25 home runs, can play all positions. My thought on Weston Wilson is I don't know enough about him. I only know what I've read about him, which is he's having a really good year at AAA. That in no way means he's going to do well at the major league level. You brought up Rojas already because Rojas can play a certain level of defense that you basically need for this team to function. So while, yes, you're right, Wilson does have 25 home runs in 95 AAA games, I don't know if I can really lean on that guy because he's got a 265 batting average. So that means that you're already kind of admitting that he has limitations as a prospect. Now, I don't know what his ranking is among the Phillies minor leaguers off the top of my head. I have to look that up. But if you have that low of a batting average in the minor leagues, it's probably not going to translate that well to the major leagues. And you already have Rojas up here. Now, if you told me we were going to trade Weston Wilson to get somebody, maybe that is the better option. All right, more text a little bit later in the show, 609-403-0973. Your DMs in the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank. See how coming up next, Mike McGarry of the Press of Atlantic City will join us to talk more Phillies here on 973 ESPN. Josh Hennig, filling in for Mike Gill on a Monday.
A sports station that hits a home run every time.
Swing and a drive. Forget it. Right field, way back. Look out. Second deck, and it's gone. Kyle Schwarber with a mammoth home run over the right field fence into the second deck.
It's 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's home for the best Phillies sports talk.
0, 0, 0. Get your zeros here. That's a zipper zero zilcha.
No, that's not it. Get low APR financing at Matt Platt Nissan with 0 interest on every new Nissan in stock.
Oh, yeah, it's on at Matt Platt Nissan.
Put 0 down, pay 0% financing, or make 0 payments for 90 days on every Matt Platt Nissan in stock. Plus, with your job clearing $450 per week at Matt Platt Nissan, you're virtually approved. If other dealers are telling you that you're stuck in a loan or lease, AJ the Trade Man can get you released, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth, and you can't buy a new ride anywhere else with peace of mind, like Matt Platt Nissan's exclusive 4-day love it or leave it return policy. Only at MattPlattNissan.com. Unapproved Tier 1 credit through NEMAC. Negative equity will be refinanced into new vehicle, plus tax tag and $589 doc fee. Offers can't be combined. Call 877-289-6670 or go to MattPlattNissan.com for complete details. Offer ends 8/6/2023. It's on at Matt Platt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
For adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy, now there's Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months, and Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Nothing in me go hand in hand. Nothing on my skin, that's my new place. Nothing is every day.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, you could achieve 90% clearer skin. Ask your doctor about the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Flounder season is gearing up, and the one stop for everything you need is the bait and tackle shop at Utch's Marina in historic Cape May. Come to Utch's for a huge selection of spinning and conventional rods and combos for the boat or the surf, with top name brands available like Penn, Tsunami, Ocean Max, Shimano, and more. Utch's Marina, your home away from home at the foot of the bridge in Cape May. Stop by any day or visit CapeMayHarbor.com.
Did you know that feeling sluggish or weighed down could be signs that your digestive system isn't working at its best? But taking Metamucil every day can help. Metamucil supports your daily digestive health using a special plant-based fiber called psyllium. Psyllium works by forming a gel in your digestive system to trap and remove the waste that weighs you down. Metamucil's gelling action also helps to promote heart health and slows down sugar absorption to promote healthy blood sugar levels. Start feeling lighter and more energetic by taking Metamucil every day.
Summer's heating things up, outside and on the grill. Whether you're smoking a brisket or grilling up veggies, Kingsford Original Charcoal delivers the consistent performance and smoky wood-fired flavor barbecuers crave. Kingsford Original lights faster and has a long burn time, giving you the ultimate grilling experience. So grab a bag of Kingsford Original Charcoal. Kingsford.com. Kingsford Original Charcoal lights faster and delivers consistent performance compared to nationally available charcoal in the USA.
Sail into summer in New Jersey. Stroll boardwalks or soar high on the rides. Enjoy iconic shores, history, and culture, from dazzling cities to charming countryside. Find it all at visitnj.org.
Now, back to more Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's sports leader.
2:43 here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig, Philly for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Without any further ado, Press of Atlantic City's Mike McGarry joins Mike Gill every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. He is back with us right now on the Elite Acura Hotline. Mike, welcome in. How was your weekend?
Pretty good, Josh. No complaints. A good summer weekend.
Nice. Like to hear that. Well, it wasn't such a good weekend for the Phillies, at least. What is your take on this team that just took 2 out of 3 against the Orioles? Then they basically floundered their way on Saturday and Sunday to lose the weekend in Pittsburgh. it feels like this team is just as much Jekyll and Hyde as it's ever been the whole year.
Yeah, I mean, and it was the same story last year too, right? They are maddeningly inconsistent. They're consistently inconsistent. I remember about this time last year, and I think it was this very weekend that passed. Didn't they get swept by the Cubs at home? And everybody last year, and everybody had kind of threw the towel in then. Again, I'm not going to make judgments one way or the other. I think this is who they are. And if you remember a couple of weeks ago, I said by August 1st, they had to be in position to contend for the wild card, because after August 1st, the schedule turned very much in their favor. And that's where they are, half a game out of the wild card, as August 1st strikes tomorrow.
So what do you make of what's going on fixable? Like, is this something like, the base running errors, the flailing at the plate, the bizarre play in the field? Like, are all these things fixable, or is there something bigger, a problem here for Philadelphia?
Well, these are their weaknesses, right? Their weaknesses are they're a bad fielding team, and they're not the smartest team on the base paths, and they haven't been that for 2 years. Now, what do they have? They have good starting pitching, and they have ability they're built to overhit or hit their way out of their issues, right? And right now, they're just not doing that. And so it's relatively simple. I mean, they're probably going to make some trades in the next day, either today or tomorrow. But really, what this season comes down to is if you look at Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, JT Realmuto, and Aaron Nola, you could arguably say those are the Phillies' 5 best players. Is any one of those 5 guys having a typical good year, or all 5 are performing subpar at a subpar level? I think all 5 are not playing up to their potential. And if that continues, I still think they got a good chance to make the playoffs, but they're not going to go far in the playoffs. If those 5 over the last 2 months of the season play like they're supposed to, or play like they're capable of, then I think you're capable of having a postseason run like you did last year. This is not. There's nothing complicated about this. Either their best players play well, or they don't. If they don't, they're going to struggle to make the playoffs. If they do make the playoffs, it could be a short visit.
You just mentioned that they're not playing up to their level, their expectation, what they're capable of. You know how Philly fans are. They want to blame somebody. They want a fall guy. Is there someone to blame for this, or is this all on the players, Mike?
This is all on the players. I mean, I know yesterday people went berserk. What's Rob Thompson doing, taking Sanchez out of the game? He's throwing a no-hitter. Well, turns out Sanchez was sick and couldn't pitch anymore, and didn't think he had enough left in him. So, fine, there goes that move. I know people talk about the batting order. Oh, you rested Bryson Stott yesterday. Well, Bryson Stott had played 130 of 135 innings since the All-Star break. He's not going to play every day from now till October 1st. These are – Thompson has made some moves that have worked. He's made some moves that haven't worked. But look, it comes down to guys hitting in the clutch, guys pitching in the clutch, and guys making plays. And to me, it's about those 5 players. Their top 5 players. JT Realmuto has not played well all season. He has not hit well all season. He's gotten a pass. We've chronicled what Trey Turner has been, maybe the biggest disappointment in baseball this season. Bryce Harper, coming off an injury, is not hitting with the power that he usually hits with. Kyle Schwarber has a lot of home runs, but I think overall his season has been disappointing. Aaron Nola has had some good starts. He's pitched deep in the games, but he hasn't been the Aaron Nola that we've seen the past couple of years. Either these 5 guys get it together, or they don't. And I'm not sure what Rob Thompson can do to help them get it together.
Mike, does this team need a shake up? Like, does Dombrowski need to go and maybe shake things up a little bit at the deadline to maybe send a signal to this locker room?
I don't think you need to shake up things. I think this team is aware of what's going on. You're not going to bench one of those 5 guys. You're not going to, I mean, again, what are we going to have a batting order where we put Brandon Marsh first, Dot second, Castellanos third, and then drop, Harper and JT Realmuto and Schwarber in the order down to 6, 7, 8, 9. That's not going to happen. So I don't know if there's going to be a bit. I don't think they need a big shakeup. I think they're well aware of what is going on, and I think they're in position to make a drive for the playoffs. They've just got to get their guys to play consistently well over the last 2 months of the season, something they didn't do in April, May, June, or July.
Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City joining us on the Elite Acura Hotline. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN at AC Press McGarry on Twitter. Mike, Adam Duvall is the big name, quote unquote, that's been connected to the Phillies as of right now. Does Adam Duvall move your needle at all? Like, if the Phillies acquire him, are you like thumbs up, don't care? How do you feel?
Well, I think he makes them a better team, right? Because it gives them a right-handed bat, which is something that they've lacked since Hoskins has gone down. So I think he makes the team better, and I think that's a good addition to the team. I think when I look at this past weekend, what I'm really concerned about, Josh, is the bullpen. I mean, Kimbrel and Soto are on pace to pitch more than they have in the past few seasons. I wonder, if the Phillies do get to postseason play, what kind of shape are Kimbrel and Soto going to be in? Are they going to arrive in October with their gas tank on empty? Sir Anthony, with his performance yesterday, raises some concerns. I know they say Alvarado is progressing, but my rule with injuries is I don't believe you're back till I see you out on the mound actually pitching. So this is a team to me that, we've talked about the right-handed bat. We've talked about starting pitching depth. And Dombrowski has said in the past he feels good with this bullpen. But to me, this is a team that needs one or maybe two more quality arms for that bullpen, considering what's going on right now.
So what you're saying is they got to get a bullpen arm or they could be doomed.
Well, I don't know. Doomed. I think last year, one of the reasons the Phillies beat the Braves in October was the Braves got to October and they had nothing left in the tank. Spencer Strider was on empty. Max Fried was on empty. The bullpen, Iglesias, Minter, they were on empty. I think the Phillies could be finding themselves in the same situation if you just look at the amount of games that Kimbrel and Soto have pitched. So protect against that, I think you need to add some bullpen depth, basically.
Mike, when you look around, because you mentioned the Braves are the best team in the National League. I think we all can agree on that. The Dodgers are probably number 2, especially with all the moves that they made. Can the Phillies be the third best team in the National League?
Yeah, in a short series, they can because they have the ability to hit good pitching, and they have good pitching. You throw Nola, Wheeler, Taijuan Walker and Ranger Suarez out there in a short series, I'll take my chances against the Braves, in that situation. And the Phillies have the ability, as they showed last year in the playoffs, to hit good pitching. So, yeah, once they get in, they're a dangerous team. The question is, can they get in, which I believe they will. But the other question I have is, can they get in peaking and everything going in the right direction at the right time, which is what happened last year? Or are they going to get in this year and go to push the gas pedal and have no gas in the tank and kind of sputter out?
Mike, before I let you go, a couple minutes left here, I want to ask you, Micah Parsons over the weekend is proclaiming that the Cowboys are the best team in the NFC. Is he just blowing smoke or is he got a point at all?
Well, he's got a point to a degree that I think the Eagles are the best team in the NFC, but I think most people would then look at it and say either San Francisco or Dallas come next. I mean, Micah Parsons is an outspoken guy. I mean, he plays for the Dallas Cowboys. I wouldn't expect him to tell me that, he thinks the Eagles or the 49ers are better than him. And the fact is the Cowboys roster is talented and filled with players. They just haven't been able to put it together in the playoffs the past couple of years. So I'll still take the Eagles roster right now as of July 31st, but I think the Cowboys are close behind, and I certainly wouldn't expect anything less from Micah Parsons. I'd be disappointed if he got out there and told me that he thought, the Carolina Panthers were better than the Cowboys, basically.
Well, yeah, the Panthers would be a bit extreme, but the reason I ask is because, it's like, Mike, we have this fine line between, we want the players and the coaches to be honest and open and speak, but then it's like when they speak their mind and when they say what they want to say, we get on them, and it's like a no-win situation for them.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like, again, you asked the question of Micah Parsons, who do you think's got the best roster in the NFC? He plays for the Dallas Cowboys. They are a good team. What's he supposed to say? And then when he says it, we kind of yell at him and say, how dare you say that? You're absolutely right with that. You know, you better watch out, because when I heard that, the first thing I heard, I remembered was 2007 when Jimmy Rollins proclaimed the Phillies in spring training with a team to beat the National League East. And everybody looked at him like he was crazy. Well, we all know what happened that year.
Yeah, he was 1 year early.
He was right. They won the division that year and went to the playoffs.
Mike McGarry for the Press of Atlantic City at AC Press McGarry over on Twitter. And, of course, check out all of his coverage over at pressofac.com. Mike, good stuff today. Appreciate you jumping on.
All right, Josh. We'll see you down the road. Thank you.
And Mike McGarry's appearance here on the Sports Bash was on the Elite Acura hotline. Visit Elite Acura during the summer performance event located on Route 73 North in Maple Shade, online at eliteacura.com. All right, still to come, we will talk more Phillies baseball with Bob Wankel from Crossing Broad coming up at about 3:25. More of your messages and texts coming in. Keep them rolling in on the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank. Seattle texts at 609-403-0973. Also, so to come, what did Randy Moss have to say about the Philadelphia Eagles? That, and what did Nick Sirianni say about DeAndre Swift? You may be surprised with what he had to say as well. I'm Josh Hennig, calling for Mike Gill on the Sports Bash on Monday edition on 97.3 ESPN and 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle.
Radio continues to reach more consumers than all other forms of traditional media. Do you own or run a business in South Jersey? Then you need the expertise of Town Square Media. The combination of radio and digital drives results. All of our Town Square Media clients get their unfair share of customers. We have the expertise in creating solutions for businesses in South Jersey. Let us help build your brand, increase sales, and give your business the boost it needs this summer. Call Jim McClain today at 609-645-9797.
Why would someone looking for a mortgage at the Jersey Shore take a loan from a company in Detroit or North Carolina or some other far-off place? Online mortgages promise a lot but don't always deliver. First Bank of Sea Isle City knows the Jersey Shore. We are local lenders. We use local appraisers and provide in-house processing. We understand the unique obstacles of financing in Cape May County. Don't take a chance. Local banking is better. Let us guide you. First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
Hey, it's me, Ruthie, from Total Wine & More. Our new lower prices on hundreds of wines are here to stay. With the lowest prices for over 30 years, you'll always find what you love and love what you find. Only at Total Wine & More. Drink responsibly, be 21.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Your home is the place where you know your loved ones are secure. But the things that keep your home protected can't keep pests at bay. That's where RAID comes in. For 60 years, RAID scientists have worked to protect people around the world. With trusted research, ingredients, testing standards, and product efficacy, RAID seeks to create a better future for all, especially the ones you love most. RAID, protection for all.
Hey, it's Mike Gill. Trio North Wildwood, a casual fine dining restaurant in North Wildwood, is the perfect spot for a memorable meal. Chef-driven and quality focused, featuring American cuisine with a global flair. Enjoy their delicious dishes and impeccable service in a warm and inviting atmosphere. Whether you're looking for a romantic dinner for two or a night out with friends, Trio North Wildwood has something for everyone. 700 New Jersey Avenue in North Wildwood. Make your reservations on Resy today and experience the best in casual fine dining. Chef-driven, quality focused. TrioNW.com.
Every piece of land has a story. The Upshaw's right theirs with a John Deere 1 Series tractor they call Penny.
When your project comes up, you have to just jump in and figure out what is it going to take.
From front loader to backhoe, the Upshaws have the tools to DIY all day long. Run with us on a 1 Series tractor and start telling your story. Get $1,000 off a 1025R tractor and 0% APR fixed rate for 60 months. For additional cost information, please call toll-free 855-633-2315.
If this were a Reese's TV ad, you'd be staring at a Reese's peanut butter cup. And sure, my voice is peanut buttery smooth, but still, you need to see the peanut butter cups, right? No? I can really just say Reese's and you'll go get some? Okay, Reese's. 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 Really working, actually. Reese's. Reese's. I'm on to something. Reese's. Reese's. Reese's.
As a dentist, I know what my patients are saying. She says her gums have been bleeding. Is there anything you can do? Try New Crest Gum Detoxify and Restore. It's professionally designed to start healing gums from day one.
Crest.
0, 0, 0. Get your zeros here. That's a zipper zero zilcha.
No, that's not it. Get low APR financing at Matt Blatt Nissan with 0 interest on every new Nissan in stock.
Oh, yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Put 0 down, pay 0% financing, or make 0 payments for 90 days on every Matt Blatt Nissan in stock. Plus, with your job clearing $450 per week at Matt Blatt Nissan, you're virtually approved. If other dealers are telling you that you're stuck in a loan or lease, AJ the Trade Man can get you released, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth, and you can't buy a new ride anywhere else with peace of mind, like Matt Blatt Nissan's exclusive 4-day love it or leave it return policy, only at MattBlattNissan.com. Unapproved Tier 1 credit through NEMAC. Negative equity will be refinanced into new vehicle, plus tax tag and $589 doc fee. Offers can't be combined. Call 877-289-6670 or go to MattBlattNissan.com for complete details. Offer ends 8/6/2023. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan, the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
Sports is what we do.
Here when you're
listening to Millville, Atlantic City, a town square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Now, live inside the Matt Blatt Kia Studios, here's Mike Gill.
Now, Shake Philly from Mike Gill, starting 3 o'clock hour on 97.3 ESPN. Glad to have you guys on board the show today. Hope everyone survived the crazy weekend. It's absolutely nuts to me. The weather was so ridiculous this past weekend. I mean, did anyone else feel like this weekend was like the range of every weather pattern we've ever had in South Jersey? You had the massive heat wave, a massive thunderstorm on Friday night. Saturday, it was a beautiful day, and all of a sudden, boom, downpour out of nowhere. Rainbows, great sunset on the Ocean City Bay for me. I was watching on Saturday. And then yesterday was just a pleasant day. And then I'm driving into work this morning, and it's sunny, and I get a sun shower. I've reached the entire gamut of summer in about 4 days. Oh, my goodness. Get to more your text just a bit. 609-403-0973 is the text board. You also can DM the show through the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. And, of course, when the Phillies lineup comes out, we'll get that to you as well. Bob Wankel from Crossing Broad will join us coming up in about 22 minutes from now to get more into the Phillies. I did want to take a little break with the Phillies talk to get into football. We're talking football throughout the show as well. Nick Sirianni spoke to the media over the weekend, and I thought what he said about DeAndre Swift was very interesting because one of the conversations that we've been having here on 97.3 ESPN, Mike Gill on the Sports Bash, myself on game night here on 97.3, Billy Schweim in the locker room on Saturday and Sunday. We've been talking about what are we looking for from the Eagles season coming up? And one of those conversations is about running back. It's about what the running back position could be with the players they have. And there's a lot of unknown about what the Eagles running backs are going to be this year. Rashad Penny, he's a phenomenally talented player, but he's constantly been injured in his career. The only 2 times he's been healthy, he's been very productive. DeAndre Swift, he's a productive player as well. Great receiver out of the backfield, productive guy on the ground. 5 rushing touchdowns every single year in the NFL, but he's been injured multiple times. Boston Scott, highest paid Eagles running back, actually, but he's considered a backup at this point. And then you have Kenneth Gainwell. Will he finally take a step forward and make things interesting? Those are the 4 main running backs in question. And the working theory is that if everyone is healthy, all 4 of those guys make the team. Well, Nick Sirianni threw a little something into the pot, and it has to make you wonder a little bit about what the Eagles' perspective is with the running back position moving forward. Take a listen.
He's got unique ability, which is part of the reason why we wanted him to be on this football team. And so we really like some of the things that he can do out of the backfield as a runner and also as a receiver. And he's showing that he has that ability of what we thought that he had when he was in Detroit and then coming out of Georgia also.
That sounds to me like they have a specific plan in mind for how to use DeAndre Swift. That sounds to me like they're looking at Swift as saying, hey, he has unique talent, unique skill. Then he brought up the running and the receiving. This is an organization that under Nick Sirianni has not gotten the ball very much to the running backs. This is an organization that when you go back to last season, you would have thought that certain guys would have thrown the ball more. Well, the running back that had the most receiving targets last season was Kenneth Gainwell with 29. Miles Sanders with 26. Nobody had double digits aside from those 2. That means that Gainwell and Sanders combined for 55 targets last year. A.J. Brown, Devon Smith, and Dallas Goedert all eclipsed that number in terms of targets. And in terms of receptions, Gainwell had 20. Gainwell had 23. Sanders had 20. Dallas Goedert had more than both of those guys combined. So it gives you an idea of what this team was last year, a team that did not look to throw the ball to the running backs very much. What happened the year before? Well, the year before, Gainwell again led all running backs in targets. Sanders second. Boston Scott third. The problem is that Gainwell and Sanders combined targets were 84. Devonta Smith in 2021 had 104 targets. And by the way, Gainwell had 50 targets and only 33 catches. Sanders had 34 targets and 26 catches. So in the past, they have not had a reliable receiving option at the running back position. Can DeAndre Swift be the guy who changes that? See, my question is, I don't know if the Eagles are not throwing the ball because they didn't trust who they were throwing the ball to. You heard Nick Sirianni say DeAndre Swift has a unique skill set. He's a unique talent. Swift alone had 70 receiving targets last year, 78 the year before that. Now remember, Swift appeared in 14 games last year, 13 games the year before. So even though he actually played less overall games than Sanders and Gainwell, he had more targets. So you heard Sirianni say, we like him because of his running and receiving ability. So does that mean that Swift is going to have a specific role in this offense? It's certainly maybe. I think there's a strong possibility that we have maybe been evaluating the Eagles' running back situation a little incorrectly. I don't think that it is a pure competition. I think the Eagles are trying to figure out exactly how they plan to use these guys. The problem with Swift is because he's been injured a couple times, it has diluted and diminished his overall numbers. Because even though he had 5 rushing touchdowns and 3 receiving touchdowns last year, his total yards from scrimmage was only around 900. The year before, it was about 1,000 total. So even though he has been electric and productive in specific spots, he has consistently not been on the field. Now, he's been on the field more than Rashad Penny has, but he's not getting the same amount of usage as other guys do. And frankly, his best game of the year came against the Eagles last year. And you could argue that the reason that is because of all the teams on the Lions schedule last year, the Eagles probably had the most subpar group of linebackers on their schedule in terms of coverage. You could look at DeAndre Swift and say he has phenomenal talent, phenomenal ability. But do the Eagles look at him and say, we can get more out of him? That's what's fascinating about this conversation. Because Nick Sirianni made it sound like, hey, we got this guy for a reason. This guy has certain skills and abilities that we really want out there. To me, that sounds like the Eagles are not looking at this as Penny or Swift. They're looking at this as potentially Swift and Penny, not or and. And I think part of it is because of Gainwell. They drafted Kenny Gainwell with the idea that this guy was going to have a certain role in this offense. Be their third down back. What has Gainwell's biggest problem been? Inconsistency and poor pass blocking. It got to the point where you were almost worried about Gainwell in the backfield because of his inconsistent play as a pass blocker, his inconsistent play as a receiver out of the backfield. I think that is the biggest reason why DeAndre Swift is here, because Swift is far and away the better football player than Kenny Gainwell. We had Emery Hunt on the show last week here on 97.3, and he covers not just the NFL, but he also covers college football, and he does a lot of draft analysis. And he said, look, I had Swift rated higher for me than Penny was when Penny came out of college. And he said, when you go back to that draft, that 2020 draft, he told us last week here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank Seattle. He said, hey, I had Swift rated higher than Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who went in the first round. Well, Clyde Edwards-Helaire basically eventually lost his job to Isaiah Pacheco. So that tells you where CEH is with the Chiefs. He's kind of the forgotten man now. Emery Hunt's telling you, I like that guy Swift better than him anyway. And when you look at the running backs from that class, the argument can be made that Swift does have the most talent. Jonathan Taylor was all through draft in the second round. Taylor does not have the receiving tools that DeAndre Swift does. Cam Akers is basically falling off a cliff. He is not the same player he used to be. J.K. Dobbins can't stay healthy. Dobbins actually might be the most gifted of all the running backs in this draft class, but he's the one who can't stay on the field. I mean, when you look at what Dobbins has done in his career, you realize that Swift has actually had a more productive NFL career than Dobbins. And Swift, people say, oh, we can't stay healthy. Well, neither can Dobbins. Dobbins has fewer rush attempts, fewer yards, fewer touchdowns than Swift does. A.J. Dillon, he's the power backup to Aaron Jones. Antonio Gibson, he's proven to be an elite pass receiver out of the backfield and a very good running back. But who would you rather have, Gibson or Swift? If everyone is healthy and all things are equal, give me Swift. So there's a possibility that when you're looking at Swift, that we have been looking at this wrong, that maybe it's less of a competition and more of an Eagles trying to figure out the best way to use these guys. Because again, that 2020 year was very strange. That draft produced a lot of misses for a lot of teams. There were a lot of players who were over and underdrafted that year. And one could argue it was because there was no in-person training or meetings. You didn't go through the draft process like teams usually go through. So maybe the reason why Henry Ruggs went 12th overall and Justin Jefferson went 22nd overall is because of the environment that we're talking about. Is the reason why a guy like DeAndre Swift goes in the second round and not the first round like Clyde Edwards-Helaire is because of the said draft process. You look at some of the guys who fell to the second round, and you have to wonder, if things were different, do those guys drop to where they did? Antoine Winfield Jr. is a phenomenal safety. But should he have really been the 45th overall pick? Why was Jeff Gladney the 31st overall pick? Gladney has basically fell on his face. He's a bust at this point. Look at the other guys who were drafted later in the 2020 draft. Let's set aside Jalen Hurts for a moment. Let's set aside what we know about him. Antonio Gibson, 66th overall. He's a really good player, is he not? Look at who else was later in that draft. You have a guy like Dantzler from the Vikings. He is actually turned out to be a better cornerback than the guy drafted in the first round, Gladney. By his own team. It's the same team. Right? That's how crazy this is. Alex Highsmith is like the next breed of pass rusher. And the Steelers got him and TJ Watt. That defense is so dangerous. He was 102nd pick. Would he be the 102nd pick in a different draft season? Again, I can go deeper down this list and I can find guys who you look at and you're like, should that guy really have been that deep in the draft? Gabe Davis, 128th overall pick by Buffalo. A lot of fantasy football managers love that guy. How about L'Jarius Sneed, the safety who was drafted 138th overall? How about Shaq Quartermain, 140th overall? In fact, if you go by the Pro Football Reference system, what they do is they take analytics and weigh a guy's value in the draft. The most valuable player in the 2020 draft in terms of analytics value is Justin Herbert 1, Jalen Hurts 2, Justin Jefferson 3, Joe Burrow 4. Okay? Those are considered the best players in that draft, according to analytics. DeAndre Swift is considered a top 20 player. Also in that rating system, Darnell Mooney, 173rd overall pick. I told you about Gabe Davis. Told you about Alex Highsmith. John Runyon Jr. was the 192nd pick in the draft. He's a starting offensive lineman in the NFL. So maybe we got to stop looking at Swift as a second-round pick and start looking at him as the weapon the Eagles think he can be. And if DeAndre Swift is that much potentially better than what Kenneth Gainwell and Miles Sanders was offering you last year, then maybe that's why what Nick Sirianni said makes sense. Maybe that's the reason why we can anticipate Swift being a big part of this team this upcoming season. We'll get back to the Phillies conversation coming up next. Bob Wankel from Crossing Broad joins us as we are counting down. We are basically, 28 hours from the Major League Baseball trade deadline. Let's Bob Wankel about that and more as the Phillies come off a rough weekend in Pittsburgh. Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle.
There's never an off season for the NFL. It's football at 4, every day at 4 p.m. on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Was there water in your basement or crawl space from the recent storms? Perfect Basement, based in South Jersey, provides certified waterproofing, mold remediation, and foundation repair. One call to resolve it all. They work in basements, crawl spaces, attics, anywhere that moisture creates mold. Call Perfect Basement before mold becomes a problem and find out why realtors choose Perfect Basement for their fast response and expert service. Schedule a free inspection and check out their great reviews at perfectbasement.com.
That's Mike saying good morning. It's the best he can do right now. Yeah, not a cloud in the sky. What Mike could use is a fresh start and Irish Spring Body Wash. The fresh scent of Irish Spring and those sensational Irish Spring suds are just the reset Mike needs. Now he's ready
to go to work.
It's Sunday. Irish Spring. When the spring hits you, you're ready. Pick up Irish Spring today.
To your left, our new exhibit, Monarchs of Springfield. And right here, we have our empty tour guide stand.
The last time Bryn hired someone is ancient history.
Sir, excuse me, that's not part of the exhibit.
They need tour guides who know the museum ropes.
Hey, kid, you like wearing khakis? I got a job for you.
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop, opt out. Go to nomoredraftywindows.com for full offer details.
Attention all homeowners. Do you know when to replace your windows? Feeling too hot or cold? It's time to replace. Fog between the glass. Time to replace. Spending too much on expensive energy that literally goes out the window? It's definitely time to replace. If you've put off replacing windows in your home because it's too expensive, here's great news. You can now get a free in-home window consultation and free price quote from Renewal by Andersen, the company with the most 5-star reviews among leading full-service window replacement companies. And right now, you can save $359 off every window and $887 off every door. Just text PLACE to 200-300 for your free consultation on top-quality affordable windows or patio doors for $0 down, 0 payments, and 0 interest for a year. That's right. You don't pay a dime for an entire year. Plus, save $359 off every window and $887 off every door. But hurry, these big dollar savings end this month. Text PLACE to 200-300 right now. Text the word PLACE to 200-300. Don't wait. Text PLACE to 200-300.
Wendy's is open till midnight or later, so you can give in to the craving and go night mode. Now all of your favorite menu items just got their bedtime extended. You can get what you want even later, like the Baconator with 6 strips of bacon, or the perfect fries and frosty duo. If you're up later, then so are we. So go ahead and pull through the drive-thru. When the craving hits, go night mode at Wendy's. Open till midnight or later. All right, see ya later.
At participating U.S. Wendy's, hours may vary. Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Opioid overdose is a serious crisis.
But with naloxone, there is hope. Whether it's prescription painkillers or illicit drugs, naloxone can be the difference between life and death. With just a simple nasal spray, this easy-to-use medication can quickly stop an overdose in its tracks. Naloxone is free, anonymous, does not require a prescription, and can be obtained by anyone 14 or older. Visit stopoverdoses.nj.gov to learn how you can get naloxone at a participating pharmacy. A message from the New Jersey Department of Human Services.
Now, back to the Sports Bag.
That's Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Well, the Phillies won 2 of 3 against the Orioles, then lost about 2 games in Pittsburgh. Apparently, Jekyll and Hyde should be this team's nickname, not the Fighting Phils. As we are counting down, we are about 28 hours from the MLB trade deadline dropping. And to talk more about the Phillies is Bob Wankel from Crossing Broad, covers the Phillies over there. Bob, welcome back in. I hope your weekend was better than the Phillies.
Mildly. Been dealing with kidney stones for the last week. So painful week physically and a painful weekend watching the Phillies play. Try to tie that all together for you.
Yeah, well, that's a double whammy there. First of all, hope you feel better with the kidney stones very soon. I mean, that's really pain. I got to ask you, though, about the Phillies team. Like, I feel like the problem is, at least for me, Bob, I just look at this team and I just don't know if I can blame anyone who's not the players anymore. Because at some point, it's like Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, Trey Turner, Nick Castellanos. These are all guys with resumes, right? Like, if you're playing a video game, you want all these guys on your team. But in the real world, they're all making just weird, dumb mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, I think you said it right. You have a lot of veteran talent here, high price talent, guys that are not only underperforming, but also making a lot of mental mistakes too. Is it on the players? It's absolutely on the players. But to the degree that Rob Thompson deserved a lot of credit for 2022, I do think that he deserves some blame for what's going on in 2023. Now, he can't swing the bats for guys, and he can't throw the ball for Aaron Nola, and he can't communicate in the outfield, and all of that is true. But when you look at this roster, the starting rotation has some depth to it. You look at the bullpen, it's a pretty solid group. You have these guys offensively that are supposed to have more punch. They're 7 games over 500. And I don't think that anybody thought that's where they would be. Are they a 100-win team? No, they're not. Are they a flawed team? Certainly they are. But you would expect them to be a little bit more consistent and a little bit better than this right now. And it's not dependent all on Rob, but I do think that at times he conveys a sense of steadiness that helps this team. I think that shows up in some of their resilience. Like you saw last week against the Orioles, you lose the opener and then you come back and you win the final 2 games. They're coming from behind a lot. That's great. But sometimes I also think that shows up in a lack of urgency. And I think that contributes to some of the stupid things that you've seen here in recent weeks.
I'm glad you mentioned that because it's something that I've asked, but I feel like you mentioned, Rob Thompson's kind of like, flat heart rate, when he talks about stuff, or like Dave Dombrowski keeps telling us, well, we have Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber. Like he names like half the roster. Like that's an answer to a question. And it's like, at some point, it's like, I feel like this organization, they're almost like I know it's not literally this, but I feel like it's the meme of the dog with the fire around him saying everything is fine. Like, I feel like they're too calm and collected. And like you said, the lack of urgency, I think, is creating an impression to the fan base that they're okay with what's going on the field.
Yeah, I think part of it's just sort of in this weird spot that they're in where they're not competing for a division crown. I mean, and not only are they not competing for a division title, but we're almost all okay with it. Like nobody is really holding the Phillies accountable for the fact that they were non-competitive in this division after 7 weeks this season. We're all kind of just okay with win the wild card because we watched them run through the National League playoffs last season and make a World Series using the same path. So I think that we all have a little bit more of an appetite for their lack of ability to actually compete with the Braves. That being said, I think that they look at this wild card picture and it's certainly competitive. And right now they're on the outside looking in. So it's not like they're holding a spot and they're not comfortably holding a spot either. But I think that they just kind of know that they're going to get in, and they act like a team that knows they're going to get in, whether it's the players or the way that some of the lineups are constructed. I think a lot of preservation and longevity is in play and in mind when they put together some of these lineups and some of these decisions that they make. They just sort of feel like a team that knows that, hey, we have a ton of games down the stretch at home. We have a veteran group that can turn it on when it really matters. They just look disinterested, and it's hard not to kind of come away with that takeaway when you watch them play sometimes.
So do you think that disinterest you just mentioned, is that something that, like, is there something that can be happen or done to wake that up? Or do the players themselves just got to, smack themselves in the face and pour some ice water on their heads when they're not winning games?
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. When I say that they're disinterested, I think sometimes it comes down to focus, but I don't think that anybody's waking up in the morning and saying, I don't care about winning this series against the Pirates. I don't want to have a good at bat. I don't want to throw a good game tonight. I don't think that anybody's actively saying this doesn't matter or, talk to me in October. But I do think that sometimes maybe that lack of focus shows up in the daily grind, in the process. And then you see some of the results that we've gotten here. And in terms of what needs to happen, you do kind of hope that the trade deadline in some capacity sort of serves as a wake-up call. And we usually look at the trade deadline like this. Well, hey, there's the front office is signaling to this group of players that they're committed to winning, and hopefully that kind of gets everyone going. Like if the Phillies add a pitcher, add a bat, hey, the clubhouse knows now. Management believes in us. We're in. I actually look at this and it could go another way. Management might not really do much of consequence or much of significance here in the next 24 plus hours. And that could signal to this clubhouse, hey, we're not winning anything. We can bring in a fifth starter, another bullpen arm, or a right-handed bat. We aren't going to win unless, hey, Nick Castellanos, you pick it up. Hey, Trey Turner, you pick it up. Hey, Aaron Nola, you be that guy that you think you are that wants that $200 million. The Phillies can add to the bottom of this roster all they want, and they can tweak and they can optimize, and they should. But if those guys don't play better, it does not matter.
We're talking with Bob Wankel. Of course, he's the co-host of the Crossed Up of Phillies podcast. Joining us here on the Elite Acura Hotline, Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. So you mentioned the lineup. I want to ask you about that because when I first saw it on Saturday, I got to admit, I had to read it about 3 times to kind of figure out what I was looking at, Bob, because I don't hate it, but I simultaneously don't understand. First of all, the obsession with having 3 straight lefties at the bottom of the lineup is completely perplexing to me in the era of like numbers and analytics. Like you would think somebody in the analytics department would be like, hey guys, this is not the best idea in the world. But number 2, why Castellanos in the 2 hole? Like it just feels like they were just like trying to say, hey, see, we took Trey Turner out of the 2 spot. Everybody be happy. And then they lose the next 2 games.
Yeah. The lineup thing is interesting because there's part of me that says that we sort of fixate on lineups and that we kind of give it too much importance sometimes. And if you have six different pieces that all at once aren't producing, you can jumble them up in any way that you want. It's not going to matter. That being said, they had to get Trey Turner out of that 2 spot, right? Like they had to do that, and they finally and reluctantly did it. To insert Nick Castellanos in the 2 spot, the rationale here is that you put him in front of Bryce Harper. Maybe he's going to get challenged more. Maybe he's going to see more hittable pitches, more fastballs. And right now, I think that the problem is it's not like he's hitting into bad luck, and it's not like he's sort of been, it's not like what you're seeing with him is like, hey, he's right there. He's one swing away, 1 game away. His approach right now is so poor, and his pitch recognition is so bad that I just don't think this is a matter of seeing more hittable pitches. Like you need to hide him as best as you can right now. And that might even include giving him a day or 2 off to sort of reset himself. I mean, he's utterly lost right now. He's hitting below 150 for the month. His OPS is below 400 for the month. And you just see what he's doing in that spot. He just can't have him there right now. I don't like to get crazy over lineups. I cannot believe he was hitting second this weekend, given the way that he has swung the bat this month.
At the end of the day, what do you think the reasoning is? Because I mean, obviously, there's a whole argument right now about who's making the lineup, who's not making the lineup, blah blah blah. Not gonna get into that here with you. I mean, that's a conversation for another day. But like when Rob Thompson, let's say Rob Thompson is sitting on the airplane, okay, to Miami today, right? And him and Sam Fold and Dave Dombrowski have a conversation. Like, what can you imagine is that conversation, Bob? Because it's like, it's not Rob Thompson's fault that these guys are having base running errors and defensive errors. But Rob Thompson does have a say, however much you want to say it is a say, but he has a say in the lineup and who's on the field each day. So, like, how do you think that conversation goes between three baseball lifers who technically have very little impact on what happens on the field with winning and losing?
Well, what I think the conversation is, it's a delicate balance between how do we have an optimal lineup to try to win the game in front of us tonight, and how do we balance and how do we pay attention to the overall psychology or the psyche of our key players. So, for instance, should Trey Turner have hit second for as long as he did when he was going through the struggles the way that he was? No, of course not. If you were trying to win the game in front of you, that probably wasn't the way to do it. But I think that Rob has to look at it and say, Trey Turner is critically important to what we're doing. And if we're going to win this season, if we're going to achieve our goals, we need to make sure that we get the most out of Trey Turner. And so, yeah, do I think that he should hit second? Probably not. But do I think from a confidence perspective, from a, hey, we've got your back, hey, take a deep breath, we're just going to keep grinding, stay in the process, stay on it, good things are going to happen, we're going to hit him second again. And we're going to do it again and again and again. And I think that that's what they're running into with Nick Castellanos as well. They are struggling so much right now with right-handed production and power production. And for a while, Nick gave them that. For a few months, he gave them that. They're already at a deficit as it is. If they don't get that from Nick Castellanos moving forward, they're going to be in a world of trouble, right? So you have to, again, balance. I know that he's going through it right now and he's giving us bad at-bats in this spot, but how do we make sure that we keep him confident? How do we make sure that we help work him through this to get him back to the player that we need him to be? Right. And I think that is really the line that they're trying to walk right now, because they know, especially with Castellanos in particular, last year was a mess, right? Like, we're not that far removed from him going through a prolonged stretch of this. And I think that they know that if they don't handle this correctly, they might be right back where they were last season.
You mentioned the right-handed bat situation. I want to ask you about that next. Bob Wankel here at Bob_Wankel on Twitter, co-host of the Crossed Up of Phillies podcast. When you look at some of the names who are being rumored, obviously the Adam Duvall name is popping back up again from the Red Sox. I mean, the guy's a good fielder. He's a right-handed bat. He's got a little bit of pop. You know, I think it's 9 home runs in 44 games, whatever this year. But I mean, is he really helping this lineup, or do you think that he's being underused in Boston? Like, what do we even read into a guy like that?
Yeah, I mean, Adam Duvall is a player that has always been solid defensively, and he can be streaky. Like, he can run into streaks where he really gets going. And if you look at him this year, he got off to a pretty quick start back in April. And then he got hurt. And since then, and since he's come back, he has not been very good. I mean, he's hitting a little over 200. It's not like he's a 20, 25 home run guy right now at this point in the season. I think it's a marginal upgrade, but it's at least a guy out there that has some experience and that is a professional and has the ability to kind of maybe carry a team for a few games. The other name that has kind of been floating around out there, and this is kind of substantiated in the past hour or so, it looks like the Mariners are willing to engage in talks here with some of their hitters. And the one name that sort of jumps out is Teoscar Hernandez. And, you know, if you look at his numbers overall, they're not overly impressive. I believe he's hitting 238 this season. His OPS is under 700. And you say to yourself, like, oh my goodness, like, is this really the big bat? Is this the move? Is this the needle mover? But if you're able to kind of hide him against righties and use him primarily against left-handed pitching, he has done damage this season. His OPS is 883, slugging well over 500 against lefties this season. So, like, is that a guy that you want to trade a meaningful prospect for? Ideally, no, but the market is thin right now. And so unless the Phillies are doing something that is totally off the grid, that they're keeping wraps on, like, I don't think that they're going to make some crazy move that has the city saying, like, okay, here we go. We're coming back to the World Series. I think it's going to be a lot of marginal upgrades, probably a pitcher or two and maybe a bat.
Yeah, the Mariners thing shocks me because for those who don't know, basically it's John Morosi and Bob Nightingale reporting that the Mariners are willing to listen for Ty France and Teoscar Hernandez. And it's like, well, they're 4.5 games out of the wild card. Like, that's who's selling. Like, and the Red Sox are even closer than that. And the Red Sox have already made, 2 trades, I believe. So it's like, I don't even know what to make of who's available and who's not, because all the obvious people have already been moved. Like you said, there's got to be somebody they're holding close to the vest, because there's no way that the Phillies could let every team in baseball make a move. I mean, I feel like the Rangers have rebuilt their entire pitching staff overnight. The Angels have made way more moves than even I expected. And the Phillies just kind of sitting there not doing anything. You know how Philly fans are, Bob. They're like, why aren't we doing something?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a school of thought here where it draws back to what I said earlier. Do you want to go all in for this group? Do you think that this is a team that is one big seismic move away from winning a World Series? Or do you want to be a little bit more conservative, make a couple small upgrades, maybe upgrade that bench a little bit, maybe create a little bit more depth in that bullpen? Is that kind of it? And then you say, hey, we have some big names. We have guys with upside that haven't come near it this season. We're going to hope that they're, positive regression, we'll call it, kind of reverting to their career norms, that is going to be the boost or the upgrade that we need down the stretch. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I will tell you that the Phillies have placed an emphasis in recent years, certainly on overhauling their minor league and developmental staff. They finally feel like they've got some nice pieces down there. And if the right player becomes available, do I think that they would use some of those lower to mid-tier pieces to bring that guy in? I do, but I don't know that they're anxious to just make a trade for the sake of making a trade. And as a Phillies fan, I know that that's kind of frustrating to hear, because you see this team, you think there's all these veteran guys, the window might be closing, like, let's make a run, let's put our foot on the gas and go. But I just don't know that the way the market is materialized, if there's really an obvious solution that you can look to. There are so many teams that remain in contention. It's not like that there are 15, 16 teams right now just dying to give away talent for minor league return. It's just, that's not the way the market is shaping up right now.
Bob, before I let you go, because you mentioned like the whole issue of like, who do you trade? What is a realistic guy in the minors who could be traded? We're talking about like, Simone Musiotti. Like, we're talking about a guy like that. Are we talking about a guy like Weston? Like, who's are some guys in the minors you say, look, if these guys, they're probably going to get traded, the Phillies do make a move here?
Yeah, I think a guy like you said it, Musiotti, I think is one. Carlos De La Cruz might be another guy, a top 10 prospect for the Phillies, outfielder. Rojas has gotten a look up here at the major league level. Team could be intrigued by him. Would the Phillies be willing to make a deal involving him? I think so. But the trade package involving like a Mick Abel or one of these elite level pitching prospects that they have, I just don't right now, unless a name like if the Cardinals got involved with like the Goldschmidts of the world or the Arenados, and the Phillies wanted to engage in one of those types of names, which they have not to this point been linked to whatsoever. Like absent of one of those players getting involved, I just don't think the Phillies are probably shipping out that type of prospect.
Give Bob a follow on Twitter at Bob_Wankel. Make sure you check out, like, subscribe, and download the Crossed Up of Phillies podcast. They join us right now on the Elite Acura hotline. Bob, appreciate you jumping on today. Take care of yourself.
Talk soon, Josh.
Of course, visit Elite Acura during the summer performance event located on Route 73 North in Maple Shade, online at EliteAcura.com, as all guests here on 97.3 ESPN appear on the Elite Acura hotline. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Before we get to break, I want to touch on one thing Bob said about how they don't want to trade the top guys. Mick Abel, Andrew Painter, Griff McGarry. And I think that is probably the biggest holdup that is keeping us from seeing a deal at this point. You know, a lot of the young guys in the minors, the Phillies feel like they've spent a lot of resources in recent years to retool and rebuild the depth of the farm system. And the idea being that they can fall back on certain players down the road. Like you see Rojas up here now. It is very, very troubling for me to look at the Phillies organization and see them hanging on to these guys who we might not see for another year or two. I mean, McGarry's getting old. We got to see him at some point in the next couple of years, or he's basically a waste of a prospect. Andrew Painter is probably out until 2025 with his surgery. And Mick Abel, he still has to pitch at the AAA level. So for me, I think it's all well and good that you're keeping all these prospects, but are they going to amount to anything? And I think that's my biggest concern. Now, if you're telling me that, you know, for example, you're going to let Aaron Nola walk this offseason and you're going to call up McGarry and have him take that rotation spot, then I'm going to give you a shoulder shrug. I'm not that excited about that because I don't know what that means for the Phillies long term. You know, you can't be so just tightly holding on for dear life to some of these guys, and then you never see them at the major league level. I think that's part of the problem for someone like me. You know, McGarry, he's at AA right now. All right. He's got a 3.02 ERA and 12 starts. That's good. It's not elite. And we look at the Phillies' top prospects, you see one major element in common for this list. That a lot of these guys are estimated arrival is down the road. McGarry right now is anticipated for next year. Mick Abel is either next year or the year after. But Justin Crawford is 2026. Hey-Yu Lee is 2025. Gabriel Rincones is 2025. Carlos De La Cruz is 2025, according to these pipeline rankings from MLB.com. So you have a lot of guys who are down the road potential players. And if you're the Phillies organization, how long do you wait for these guys to actually get here before you have to make a move? Because at some point, you can't let this team keep floundering the way it is. All right, more your text messages coming up next, 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank Seattle. And don't forget, coming up in about 23 minutes from now, Football at 4, Jeff Mocher joins us with the latest on Eagles training camp.
From the beach,
the beaches are open, and people are having a wonderful time.
To the ballpark.
Swing and a high fly ball, left field. That one is back. Gone. Harper delivers.
We've got you covered. The Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
000. Get your zeros here. That's a Zipper Zero Zilcha.
No, that's not it. Get low APR financing at Matt Platt Nissan with 0 interest on every new Nissan in stock.
Oh, yeah, it's on at Matt Platt Nissan.
Put 0 down, pay 0% financing, or make 0 payments for 90 days on every Matt Platt Nissan in stock. Plus, with your job clearing $450 per week at Matt Platt Nissan, you're virtually approved. If other dealers are telling you that you're stuck in a loan or lease, AJ the Trade Man can get you released, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth, and you can't buy a new ride anywhere else with peace of mind, like Matt Platt Nissan's exclusive 4-day love it or leave it return policy. Only at Matt Platt Nissan. TSB.com. On approved Tier 1 credit through NEMAC. Negative equity will be refinanced into new vehicle plus tax tag and 589 fee. Offers can't be combined. Call 877-289-6670 or go to mattblattnissan.com for complete details. Offer ends 8/6/2023. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan. The Black Horse Pike. Egg Harbor Township.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Thinking about gas mileage.
Good Monday afternoon. I'm Josh Hennig with your South Jersey Sports Center. The Phillies look to break out of a 2-game losing streak as they continue their road trip in Miami tonight against the Marlins, with Taijuan Walker making the start, first pitch at 6:40 p.m. Could there be a big role? Could Eagles running back DeAndre Swift be in line for a bigger role than we expected this season? Here's what Nick Sirianni had to say about the Eagles' new running back. Get more Eagles, Sixers, Phillies, and Flyers when you download our app. Your forecast is next.
Plus many more. This is a show you won't want to miss. We're celebrating 45 years all summer long. This is the summer you've been waiting for. For tickets and more information, go to resortsac.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
My friend and I are taking a trip to Mexico this year, but neither of us speak Spanish. So we downloaded Babbel and started learning Spanish fast.
Want to start getting conversational in another language in as little as 3 weeks? Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons were designed by language experts to be the most efficient and effective way to learn a new language.
¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas?
Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com.
Every piece of land has a story. Some write theirs behind the wheel of a John Deere 1 Series tractor, like the Upshaws.
This is my tractor Penny. It's all about attention to detail.
But the Nelsons love cruising around their expansive Montana ranch in their John Deere Gator UV.
We've been here since 1868.
While the Caggianos drive a John Deere zero-turn mower to keep their Long Island brewery looking sharp.
Don't call me, don't bother me. I'm going out to mow for a couple hours.
Run with us and start telling your story. Learn more at johndeere.com/radio.
The biannual blowout is just a week away, and we've got a lot of work to do.
Keenan's Rug Emporium is rolling out a Labor Day bonanza. He needs 10 new sales associates as the crowds loom large.
Someone run a stock check on all the Moroccan 8x10s?
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
As a dentist, I know what my patients are saying. She says her gums have been bleeding. Is there anything you can do? Try New Crest Gum Detoxify and Restore. It's professionally designed to start healing gums from day one.
Crest.
Now, back to more Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN.
Today, Philly from Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Back over to get to the text board if we get out of here. 609-403-0973. Mr. 305 chimed in a little bit earlier. Josh, I still think the Phillies should trade Aaron Nola. Most likely he's going to walk after the season. Then you'll get nothing. He's the one player I think you could trade to get some player of impact in return. And then your rotation is still Wheeler, Suarez, Walker can be your main playoff pitchers, and Sanchez can be your fourth. Well, a couple things there. One, I think if you're trading Nola, you're probably getting a pitcher in return for him. So there's a possibility that And I had to look at who is technically still available or not, but my working assumption would be if you're trading Nola, you're probably going to find a way to get a pitcher in return for that. The problem with Nola is that he still has a lot of value for this team in terms of what his role is in this rotation. But as you said, he could walk after this year. So, I think there's a possibility you could go down this road. You could definitely. I'm not saying they should trade Aaron Nola. I'm not anti-Aaron Nola, but I am frustrated with him. I do think that this is arguably the most frustrating season for Aaron Nola of his career. For me, at least, because when you look at the numbers he's putting up, he leads the National League in home runs allowed, 24. Well, he's on track to allow the most home runs he has had in his entire career. The most he ever allowed was 27 in 2019. He currently has 139 strikeouts, 138 innings. He is on pace to have his worst strikeouts to inning ratio he has had in his career since 2015 and 2016. So right now, he is trending down a very negative path. So if you were to get something in return from him and then let him walk, I don't think it's the worst idea. But the problem is that you got to find somebody to replace him in the rotation. And my assumption would be if you're trading him, you are getting something in return for him. By the way, the Phillies lineup is out. Phillies lineup being brought to you by Clark's Moving and Storage. Schwarber is in left field leading off. Alec Bohm is your number 2 hitter. Bryce Harper 3, Real Muto 4, Stott 5, Turner 6, Marsh 7, Cave 8, Rojas in center field 9. To the Phillies, another major lineup shakeup. Bohm is now your number 2 hole hitter. So Bohm is now in between Schwarber and Harper, with Realmuto backing up Harper and Stott backing up Realmuto. We'll see if this lineup works tonight in Miami. Phillies tonight, first pitch, 6:40 p.m. I'm Josh Hennig. Football is next.
South Jersey business owners, when Eagles football returns to the airwaves this season, don't miss out. Make sure your business is a part of the Philadelphia Eagles season with Merrill Reese and Mike Quick on 97.3 ESPN. Touchdown! Every week, the NFL's most passionate fan base flocks to 97.3 ESPN radio to listen to their favorite team, the Philadelphia Eagles. Advertising with the Eagles can help your business connect with the consumers you are trying to reach. 97.3 ESPN is the most listened to sports source in all of South Jersey. That's what makes 97.3 ESPN such a powerful station for your business's message. So this Eagles season, don't have your business sitting on the sidelines.
Good Monday afternoon. I'm Josh Hennig with your South Jersey Sports Center. The Phillies look to break out of a 2-game losing streak as they continue their road trip in Miami tonight against the Marlins, with Taijuan Walker making the start, first pitch at 6:40 p.m. Could Eagles running back DeAndre Swift be in line for a bigger role than we expected this season? Here's what Nick Sirianni had to say about the Eagles' new running back.
He's got unique ability, which is one part of the reason why we wanted him to be on this football team. And so we really like some of the things that he can do out of the backfield as a runner and also as a receiver. And he's showing that he has that ability of what we thought that he had when he was in Detroit and then coming out of Georgia also.
Get more Eagles, Sixers, Phillies, and Flyers when you download our app. Your forecast is next.
Plastics. To learn more, visit acua.com or call 609-272-6950.
Now your ideas don't have to wait. Now they have everything they need to come to life. Dell Technologies and Intel are creating technology that loves ideas, loves expanding your business, evolving your passions. We push what technology can do, so great ideas can happen right now. Find out how to bring your ideas to life at Dell.com. Welcome to now.
0, 0, 0. Get your zeros here. That's a zipper zero zilcha.
that's a hit! Get low APR financing at Matt Blatt Nissan with 0 interest on every new Nissan in stock.
Oh, yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Put 0 down, pay 0% financing, or make 0 payments for 90 days on every Matt Blatt Nissan in stock. Plus, with your job clearing $450 per week at Matt Blatt Nissan, you're virtually approved. If other dealers are telling you that you're stuck in a loan or lease, AJ the Trade Man can get you released, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth, and you can't buy a new ride anywhere else with peace of mind, like Matt Blatt Nissan's exclusive 4-day love it or leave it return policy. Only at MattBlattNissan.com. On approved Tier 1 credit through NEMAC. Negative equity will be refinanced into new vehicle plus tax tag and $589 doc fee. Offers can't be combined. Call 877-289-6670 or go to MattBlattNissan.com for complete details. Offer ends 8/6/2023. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike. Egg Harbor Township.
Deodorant you use on your butt? You heard that right. I'm Dr. Shannon Klingman, founder of Lumi Whole Body Deodorant. It's time to summer-proof your body odor. Lumi's formula works everywhere. Pits, underboobs, and yep, butts too. All those places that naturally tend to get a little bit stinky when the weather gets hot. Lumi's clinically proven to control odor for 72 hours. That's 3 whole days of fresh fun in the sun. As an OBGYN, I met thousands of women looking for a better way to control odor below the belt. So I created Lumi, a pH-optimized, aluminum-free deodorant that actually works, with over 150,000 5-star reviews to prove it. Ready for your freshest summer ever? Head to LumiDeodorant.com to get started.
There's a special offer for listeners. Use code 26 and get an extra $5 off a Lumi starter pack that comes with a free product of your choice and ships free with code 26. LumeDeodorant.com, code 26 for an extra $5 off a Lumi starter pack. That's LumeDeodorant.com, code 26.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
South Jersey's play-by-play home for the Eagles, Sixers, and Flyers.
He scored!
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City, a Town Square media station. 97.3 ESPN presents The Sports Bash with Mike Gill. It's time for Football at 4 with Jeff Mosier.
I think our track record in the last 20 years, how many NFC East titles, playoff appearances, and appearances in the NFC Championship game, those are some of the metrics I look at, and I'll compare our record with almost anybody.
Powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. This is Football at 4.
Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on a Monday edition of the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Yes, Football at 4. Another edition today. That's the final day of July. Also marks the continuation of Eagles training camp season. And we'll get to all of it right now with Jeff Mosher at Jeff P. Mosher on Twitter. And we all know the P stands for Philadelphia, right, Jeff?
I would thought it was perfection, but we'll go with that too.
So, Jeff, first let me start with the biggest topic for the average Eagle fan out there. It's not Eagles camp. It is the official return of the Kelly Green uniform. What do you think, if anything, this is going to mean for what this team is, not really this year on the field, but what they're doing moving forward? Because I know this is probably the most popular thing Philadelphia has done maybe ever at this point. Like, it's the way fans are acting it's like, you know, like manna from heaven at this point.
I think it means that the franchise is going to make a lot more money. I've heard about tailgating at the pro shops and all the merchandise, and people are already having trouble getting certain jerseys they want because they're sold out. And I would imagine that those 2 dates on the calendar, will be Full House. Not that the link is ever not Full House, but, and then they'll probably invite some of those 90s Eagles back. It'll become a very good brand of promotion, marketing, and revenue generation by just selling those jerseys. that the fans have wanted for a long time.
Exactly. The fans have wanted this for a very long time. All right, let's get to the field stuff because we got the Kelly Green thing out of the way. Personally, I'm kind of indifferent. I like it, but I'm not a jersey guy, Jeff. I don't go out and buy jerseys. So I mean,
I'm with you.
You know, for me, it's kind of like, hey, if the fans love it, have at it, Haas. But I am interested in the running back situation, because I think a lot of the conversation that you guys have been having on the Inside the Birds podcast that we've been having here on 97.3 ES about the running backs has been about, hey, how is this situation going to be handled? Did Nick Sirianni give anything away with his comments about DeAndre Swift? Did the Eagles show anything in training camp to suggest that maybe the strategy with the running backs is going to be different this year?
I mean, actions speak louder than words, right, Josh? So I don't think Nick Sirianni went over. I don't think he said anything that was very leading in his opening press conference. In fact, he did say all the running backs from top to bottom were going to get opportunities on all teams, right? Because they have to find out a lot, excuse me, about roles and who belongs where. So he said, don't read too much into it. But, again, like I say, actions speak louder than words. Of all the running backs they have, they give up a 4th round pick to acquire DeAndre Swift, which may be a low price tag for DeAndre Swift, but nonetheless, it's still, an asset. He's a pass catching running back. And you've seen so far in practices that offensive design looks like that they're trying to throw the ball to the running back intentionally, more so than just dumping the ball off. In fact, in their last practice, DeAndre Swift lined up as a wide receiver, split wide, and caught a ball down the field. So, I mean, to me, that shows you that DeAndre Swift is part of their plans to be involved in the passing game. And if you're a running back like DeAndre Swift, who's also a great runner, and you can catch the ball, you got a chance to be somewhat of a 3-down back if that's the direction the Eagles want to go. Obviously, they still need to figure out what they're getting and what they're going to do with guys like Rashad Penny and Kenny Gainwell and so on and so forth.
I mean, I talked about it earlier before you came on, Jeff. DeAndre Swift had more targets last year than Sanders and Gainwell combined.
Yeah.
So, maybe how much of what we saw last year, Jeff, was that just a reflection of how the Eagles felt about those running backs? Because if you go back to the 2020 NFL draft, there were a lot of people who really liked DeAndre Swift coming out of Georgia. He's kind of like the other Georgia guy that this team has brought in at this point, but he may be kind of like the forgotten one. He may potentially have a bigger impact than we originally thought.
He could. And I think he fits the offense. And I think what you're saying is right, that there may have been some reluctance on. First of all, Jalen Hurts is an aggressive quarterback. We saw how much he wanted to push the ball down the field and not want to check down. But there also might have been, and I can't be in Jalen Hurts' head, but, Miles Sanders is a guy who's, ever since his rookie year, was sporadic with catching the football. Kenny Gainwell was supposed to be a good catcher of the football, but if you remember last year, had a couple of early drops that turned into interceptions. So I don't know that there was a trust factor with Jalen Hurts, who already wants to push the ball down the field, to then want to throw to running backs if a play breaks down or if his number 2 options are covered, because he had the ability himself to run with the football and make big yards. I think if you give him a weapon where he knows that he can throw to somebody running a route who's a running back, not just dumping the ball off, but, running across. If you remember in the game against the Lions last year, I believe Swift took a crossing route across the middle, turned upfield, and made like 40-yard gain on it. So if you gave Jalen Hurts that kind of running back weapon that he trusted, then you might see the offense more geared toward it, because basically last year, if you were there were no screens for running backs. There were screens to Dallas Goedert. There were the occasional bubble screens to Quez Watkins, but you didn't see a running back screen a whole lot. You might see that return if you have a guy like DeAndre Swift out there.
So if Swift, and even Penny, we know Penny can catch the ball a little bit too out of the backfield. If you are implementing the running back more into the passing game, what does that mean for the other guys on the field? Because, a lot of Eagle fans, they're hearing a guy like Randy Moss talk very highly of their receivers, right? They're hearing the national pundits talk about what does Jalen Hurts do coming off an MVP runner-up season? Well, how does then the running back getting potentially more targets, more action mean for this offense?
Josh, I think it'll all be matchup based and it'll all be game plan specific. So yeah, you might have a game where DeAndre Swift catches the ball 5 or 6 times, and in that game, maybe you only get 3 to 4 catches out of somebody who you expect 6 to 7 catches out of, whether it's AJ Brown, Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith. Maybe you just have one of those games where you score 44 points because everybody gets the ball. I mean, they certainly, if you go back to the middle of the year last year, when they were really dropping bombs on everybody, they were scoring a lot of points and moving the ball with great efficiency.
We're talking with Jeff Mosher on the Elite Acura Hotline, Inside the Birds podcast, InsideTheBirds.com. And Jeff, I want to ask you about on your Inside the Birds Patreon, you got to speak with Chuck Pagano. And I think the Pagano stuff is a very important thing we have to talk about because this new defensive coordinator, Sean Desai, Pagano knows him well. And I know a lot of Eagle fans are excited about, Desai saying last week, we're going to be physical, we're going to reflect the city. But to me, what's not to Desai was mindset. And I heard Pagano say the same word. They both kept saying mindset. And I feel like that is the big thing we have to understand is the difference here. It might not be literally personnel set up, but it's going to be a different attitude and perspective brought in here.
Yeah, first of all, Chuck was great to speak to. I mean, this was maybe our best, most insightful interview that we've done for our Patreon members, which is patreon.com/InsideTheBirds. If anybody wants to check it out, they really should, because you learn so much about Sean Desai through the eyes of Pagano, who, remember, when he became defensive coordinator to replace Vic Fangio in Chicago, he came from the outside. And a lot of times people who come from the outside want to bring their own people in. You'll notice the Eagles now have some guys who are attached to, in the past, to Sean Desai, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Chuck Pagano kept Desai. He was the safeties coach at the time, and he talked about what he saw in him that made him want to keep Sean Desai. And then, yes, he went into a really sort of what I thought was a brilliant kind of discussion about how a lot of the Fangio concepts stayed the same in Chicago, even though Chuck Pagano is not from the Fangio school, and why he wanted to do that, and how Sean Desai, as part of that staff, learned and adapted his own Fangio concepts to what he's going to do as Eagles coordinator. And Chuck did a great job of explaining what we should expect to see from a front end and a back end standpoint, based on his knowledge of Sean Desai and Desai's kind of tutelage in the both Fangio and Pagano's concepts.
How important do you think it is going to be that Desai is taking this different approach? Because I think one of the criticisms of the team last year was, I felt like at least Gannon was so all about the scheme and the system, that it held him back. And some of the losses, like the Dallas loss on Christmas Eve and the first week of the season against the Lions, which is where DeAndre Swift impressed every Eagle fan out there, right? Or the Washington loss on Monday Night Football. To me, all of those losses, Andy Reid took them and used it against him in the Super Bowl. And I think that maybe being less scheme and more mentally flexible might benefit the Eagles with Desai.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, there's no question that the backbone of the Vic Fangio defense, the Vic Fangio scheme, is that it's an execution style defense, meaning do your job and 9 times out of 10, you're going to win. And the job is sort of simple. In fact, in the fact that you just have your responsibility and you have to make sure you carry that responsibility out. And it's sure for a different opponent, there might be some different, obviously, play calls and strategies, but it doesn't really vary that much from week to week to week as far as conceptually. I don't know if Sean Desai is going to add a little bit more variables to what he does. That is yet to be seen. I think that is everybody's hope, is that he's not running the same exact defense that Jonathan Gannon did, and that he does things a little bit differently, especially when you're playing, advanced quarterbacks, that you do things on the back end to confuse the quarterback, whether it's spinning safeties or showing one look and going to another, pre and post snap disguise. Jonathan Gannon did it. I believe there's capacity to do more of it. And I think Sean Desai could bring an element where the way he does it is more effective, but that remains to be seen.
One of the big key components of that defense is going to be Nakobe Dean, as Andrew DeCecco wrote about it InsideTheBirds.com. James Bradbury, very complimentary of Nakobe Dean. Nakobe Dean looking like he fits like the glove right there in that Eagles middle of the defense.
Yeah, it shouldn't be a surprise. Obviously, Nakobe Dean, you can question sort of the body size, the ability to hold up and play in the NFL, and whether he's a downhill guy or not, which is really not what his game's supposed to be. However, you don't question the leadership, the intelligence, the ability to diagnose, to read the offense, to understand where to be. And that is where James Bradbury, I think, was giving him a compliment, saying this guy knows exactly what the defense is supposed to do when it's supposed to do it. And that's half the battle. And when you're able to align your teammates and give them clues and indicators of what the offense is going to do, and everybody's sort of on the same page with it, then you have a defense that can function more freely and isn't, thinking all the time. And this defense, Josh, is going to have 5 or 6 new starters. So Nakobe being one of them. So obviously it's really imperative for Nakobe to be that way and to get everybody on the same page as quickly as possible, because everybody's kind of still learning each other at this point.
You mentioned about learning about each other. How much also needs to be talked about the fact that, you're expecting certain guys to step up this year as well. Jordan Davis being one of them. He had a rocky year last year, partly due to injury. It wasn't fully his fault, but, people are expecting more of him, right? Without Javon Hargrave here, we're expecting Jalen Carter to slide in and perform in that slot, right? So there are certain guys who, and by the way, the safety situation is a whole nother conversation. The safety, you got 4 guys. I have no idea what the combination of those 4 guys is going to be. Frankly, if you told me you're starting the year with Terrell Edmonds and Reed Blankenship, Jeff, I'm not exactly jumping up and down at that.
Yeah, and obviously this is sort of an annual conversation that we have surrounding the Eagles at safety and linebacker. Last year, before the trade for CJ Gardner-Johnson, so right around now, right, this time last year, we're talking about safeties being Marcus Epps and Jaquiski Tartt had left the team, so he had to leave the team for it might have been Reed Blankenship, and everybody was saying what you're saying. Oh no, Kevon Wallace, something like that. Everyone's saying what you're saying now. This does not inspire a whole lot of confidence. And so obviously we'll have to look at that position, see how things develop over the next week and a half, not just with Reed, but also with Sidney Brown and, of course, Justin Evans. And we'll have to look at linebacker the same way, Nick Morrow versus Christian Ellis there, and whoever wins that, and just see if the team feels that they're good enough. I think that we can all agree that they're not going to be spectacular at safety unless they pull off some kind of deal like how he pulled off to get CJ Gardner-Johnson. But I think CJ sort of surpassed everybody's expectations as well. I don't know if people thought CJ was going to be as good as he was while he was with the Eagles. So these are kind of annual conversations that we have about these 2 spots. And we always know that Howie Roseman's looking at the roster that he has, but also looking around the league and seeing if he can make the moves to compensate if need be. But he'll always feel, and the team will always feel, that if the defensive front is doing its job and the corners are doing their job, then you can sort of get away with a little bit lesser talent at linebacker and safety.
When you think about the safety specifically, do you think that is there a guy of those 4 that you say, hey, if this guy performs at the level we can expect, he could be like a serious impact player? Or is that not count for any of the guys who's currently here?
It's tough. I know there is a Sidney Brown hype train that I'm well aware of. You have to understand, Sidney Brown did not play in this style of defense in college.
Correct.
He did not cover in college. He was more of a box safety. The reason why the Eagles drafted him in the 3rd round and liked him was because sort of like Nakobe Dean, just a really smart, intelligent, great kid who can learn, and B, they did see him cover some. They saw him in a free safety like role at the Senior Bowl and felt that he had qualities and athleticism that could translate. But that, just because you do it in a couple of Senior Bowl practices doesn't mean you're going to go do it at the NFL level in a finger snap. It's got to be something sort of like a Marcus Epps or TJ Edwards, where you have to then play a year, 2 years in the NFL and really familiarize yourself with that kind of role before you can flourish there. So we'll just have to see how Sidney Brown adjusts to that throughout camp. Justin Evans is intriguing because he was a second-round pick. Greg Cosell really liked him coming out of college. And there must be something really good about him, Josh, because very few people can miss 3 consecutive years of football, not play a game for 3 straight years, and still have an NFL career. And that's what he did. He came back and played fairly well for the Saints last year. But, sort of like he's like the Rashad Penny of defense now. The guy has really, really struggled to stay healthy. So it's sort of hard to expect that he's just going to be healthy and productive and earn his way into the starting lineup. So I think you're right. You look at it right now and you see Reed Blankenship and you see Terrell Edmonds, and I don't know that you should expect either of them to play outside their parameters. Terrell Edmonds has been a reliable, dependable safety who can tackle in the box for 5 years. I think he has 5 career interceptions, right? He has fewer interceptions in his 5-year career than CJ Gardner had during a 5-week span of 2022. So don't expect that Terrell Evans is suddenly going to turn into Ed Reed or give you like 6 to 7 interceptions. His history does not say he's going to do that for you. And Reed Blankenship is a guy who can give you, I think, a baseline acceptable, adequate level of play at safety. Maybe even surprise you a little bit, like when he picked off Aaron Rodgers. But are you getting a Brian Dawkins level? No, I don't. And to even say, are you getting Marcus Epps of last year? Probably a stretch.
Jeff, before I let you go, obviously we got about 13 days until the first Eagles preseason game. So I want to ask you, what are you, Jeff Mosher, looking for from training camp over the next almost 2 weeks?
Oh, man. I mean, I'm looking at a lot of positions. I'm looking at, we just talked about linebacker and safety. You know what, Josh, you kind of brought it up. I'm going to, and I'll be there Wednesday, right? Or Tuesday? Tomorrow. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you talked about. Like, if anything is shown, right, what Sean Desai does differently than John Gannon. When I watch an Eagles practice and when I watch the defense, am I basically seeing what I saw last year out of Jonathan Gannon, 5-man fronts and, rolling safeties back and forth a little bit? Or is there something that I can pick up and say, hey, that's a little bit different, whether it's more press coverage on the outside or on the inside or anything like that. So that to me, and of course, tomorrow I'm going to keep a good eye on that interior wide receiver position with Olamide Zaccheaus and Quez Watkins has had some nice practices. What I'm curious to see is he winning more from the outside where I think he's better used, or is he winning from the inside where he was used last year and was, up and down?
Very curious, very interesting. I can't wait. I mean, I'm sitting there. I'm like everybody else, Jeff. I'm trying to watch every little bit of everything online. And of course, part of that coverage is from the guys at InsideTheBirds.com, the Inside the Birds podcast, Inside the Birds on Patreon. They're everywhere on YouTube. Jeff Mosher joined us at Jeff P. Mosher on Twitter. And from as far as I know, you'll be back on Wednesday with Mike Gill here on Football at 4. Great stuff today, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Josh. Have a great one.
And of course, Jeff appeared on the Elite Acura hotline. Visit Elite Acura during the Summer of Performance event located on Route 73 North in Maple Shade. Visit them online at eliteacura.com. Yeah, I told you guys last week when I was filling in for Mike Gill on Happy Hour Friday, for me, that safety position is probably the biggest position I'm watching out for because it's the greatest unknown of all the positions on the field. I at least know I have an understanding of who and what the running backs are. I know who Jalen Carter is on the field. I know what Olamide Zaccheaus should be on the field, what Quez Watkins Kennan should be, and what he has been. What I don't know is about these safeties, and that is the biggest conundrum of all. And it's going to probably be the biggest focal point for me as we get closer and closer. And as I told Jeff, we're 13 days away from the first preseason Eagles game. That's right. Eagles preseason starts Saturday, August 12th, and you can hear it right here on your home for the Eagles here in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN. Don't forget, Sound of the Day coming up next. What did Randy Moss have to say about the Philadelphia Eagles? Check it out next on 97.3. Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill on the final day of July 2023.
We have the perfect remedy for sitting in traffic. The Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
Sail into summer in New Jersey, where sea breezes drift along iconic sunny shores, stroll boardwalks, or soar high on the rides. Take time out to breathe in the great outdoors. Treat yourself, shop, dine, dive into history, the arts, and culture, from dazzling winning cities to charming towns in the countryside. Find it all at visitnj.org.
Staples presents a lesson in back-to-school savings. Your local Staples now accepts Amazon returns. So when you return your Amazon order at Staples, you receive a coupon for $10 off your next $30 Staples purchase. So you can save even more on top of huge back-to-school deals. Like right now, 2-pocket poly folders and Staples 8-count number 2 pencils are each just 50 cents. Staples gives you more ways to save even more. 50-cent offers end 8/26. Pricing and limits may vary in-store and online. Amazon return offer in-store only. Exclusions apply.
Do the bump, do the hustle, do the funky chicken. But whatever you do, get down to Royal Farms Chicken Palooza. Right now, get a 3-piece world-famous chicken meal. White, dark, or chicken tenders with Western fries for just $6, with a portion of each chicken meal sale donated to local charities. Can you dig it? Plus, register to win world-famous chicken for a year. That's a 3-piece world-famous chicken meal with Western fries for only $6. Don't stop till you get enough. But hurry, Royal Farms Chicken Palooza is only for a limited time. So boogie on in for Royal Farms Chicken Palooza. Going on now, and it's just the way, you like it. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms. No purchase necessary to enter or win. Sweepstakes ends August 31st, 2023. Chicken for a year prize to be awarded as 8 $100 Royal Farms gift cards. For details and official rules, visit royalfarms.com/chicken-palooza-sweepstakes. Void where prohibited. Sponsored by Royal Farms.
For over a decade, SimpliSafe has revolutionized home security, and our latest advancement is here, 24/7 LiveGuard protection, only from SimpliSafe. Now, monitoring agents can see and speak to intruders through our new indoor camera to help stop crime in real time and for fast police response. Get 20% off any new system with Fast Protect monitoring at simplisafe.com/radio. Advanced home security, 24/7 professional monitoring for less than $1 a day. There's no safe like SimpliSafe.
Every piece of land has a story. For the Nelsons, it's cruising around their Montana ranch on a John Deere Gator XUV 835R. With 3,000 acres, there's plenty of work to do.
We're not afraid to jump in and help each other out.
That's how they've kept their ranch going for 5 generations.
It's all about efficiency.
Like teaching visitors to fly fish.
The whole joy with fly fishing is matching the hatch.
Run with us on a Gator XUV 835R and start telling your story. Learn more at johndeere.com/radio.
Now your ideas don't have to wait. Now they have everything they need to come to life. Dell Technologies and Intel are creating technology that loves ideas, loves expanding your business, evolving your passions. We push what technology can do, so great ideas can happen right now. Find out how to bring your ideas to life at Dell.com. Welcome to Now.
Powered by NJM. No jingles or mascots, just great insurance. This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
Good Monday afternoon. I'm Josh Hennig with your South Jersey Sports Center. The Phillies look to break out of a 2-game losing streak as they continue their road trip in Miami tonight against the Marlins, with Taijuan Walker making the start, first pitch at 6:40 p.m. Could Eagles running back DeAndre Swift be in line for a bigger role than we expected this season? Here's what Nick Sirianni had to say about the Eagles' new running back.
He's got unique ability, which is one part of the reason why we wanted him to be on this football team. And so we really like some of the things that he can do out of the backfield as a runner and also as a receiver. And he's showing that he has that ability of what we thought that he had when he was in Detroit and then coming out of Georgia also.
Get more Eagles, Sixers, Phillies, and Flyers when you download our app. Your forecast is next.
Go to Ocean Casino Resort this summer for our 5th birthday celebration. Go for the parties and the payouts. Go for the dining and the unwinding. Go for the win at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. For more information, visit theoceanac.com. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. Aside from an isolated pop-up shower or thunderstorm, this evening looks fantastic, comfortable and crisp. Skies will go mainly clear tonight with a low temperature around 65 degrees. Tomorrow looks great, sun and clouds, high at 80. Can't complain about that. Wednesday, mostly sunny, high 79. We'll see a bit more humidity and some clouds on Thursday. Also our next chance for showers and thunderstorms. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
Opioid overdose is a serious crisis, but with naloxone, there is hope. Whether it's prescription painkillers or illicit drugs, naloxone can be the difference between life and death. With just a simple nasal spray, this easy-to-use medication can quickly stop an overdose in its tracks. Naloxone is free, anonymous, does not require a prescription, and can be obtained by anyone 14 or older. Visit stopoverdoses.nj.gov to learn how you can get naloxone at a participating pharmacy. A message from the New Jersey Department of Human Services.
Now, back to the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. It is almost 4:30 on a Monday afternoon. Glad to have you guys on board the show today. As this time of day, Mike Gill always does the sound of the day. And for today's conversation, I want to bring to you some of the comments by Hall of Famer, one of the greatest wide receivers of all time, Randy Moss. And the reason why I want to go to Randy is because Randy is two things that are very important for someone like myself. Number one, Randy Moss is genuinely himself. He doesn't try to be different. He doesn't try to be some special analyst or anything like that. He just speaks his mind. Okay? He always speaks his mind. Number two, Randy's perspective on, sports and the world in general, it is very much based in some of his own experience. And as someone who's been an analyst on ESPN, someone who's been around the game, I always find his opinions very interesting. So Randy Moss was a guest on the John Clark Take Off podcast. They talked about a lot of different things in the podcast, but I wanted to focus specifically on some of the things Randy had to say in the pod, starting off with Randy Moss's perspective on the Eagles' duo of wide receivers. He had a lot of praise for the duo of A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. Take a listen.
I would put them at the tops. I mean, I'm a big Devonta Smith. I trained a little bit with him coming out of college, so he knows how I feel about him. 100%. If there's any wide receiver core that I could compare to the Eagles, it would probably be the Cincinnati Bengals. But you putting, big Batman and skinny Batman together, man, I don't really think there is a combination better than them. If there is, I would have to put the Bengals up there. But I like what I see in Philadelphia.
I mean, that is massive praise. If you ask the average football fan who are the best wide receiver duos in the NFL, I don't know how many people have the Eagles at number one. I think a lot of people love to point to, like Randy said, the Bengals, because the Bengals have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. You go to Miami with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. You might point to the guys in with the Chargers, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. You might throw in there Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk with the 49ers. But I don't know how high most people would have A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. That says a lot coming from a guy like Randy Moss to say that those guys may be the best duo. Now, I don't know of how accurate that is. Like I said, I think most people look to what the Bengals have. I mean, even what Buffalo has with Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis up there in Buffalo. But you can't ignore the productivity of A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. I think that's maybe what Randy's looking at. He's talking about the productivity, not just the talent on the field. Because, on paper, we know that CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cook should be very good this year, but there's no guarantee those guys are going to be, elite production necessarily. The problem in a team like Minnesota is they got one guy, Justin Jefferson, and there's a drop off to the next guy. You go to a place like the Raiders, the drop off from Devontae Adams to Hunter Renfrow, for example. There's a drop off for a lot of these teams from their one to their two guys. So it's an interesting perspective on the Eagles receivers. Randy Moss went on to talk more about A.J. Brown.
What I'm very impressed about is they try to change the game and the rules to, better the corners, the better the wide receivers. But one thing that I like about A.J. Brown and what he brings to the game is how physical he is. And one thing that I like is he brings the best out in Devontae. I was a young receiver coming into Minnesota, having a veteran like Chris Carter that brought the best out of me at times. And I can really see those boys, A.J. bringing the best out of Devontae.
I love that analogy, that A.J. brings the best out of Devontae. And I think a lot of that has to do with the relationships these guys have. Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown have been friends for years. And Jalen and Devontae Smith played together at Alabama. And considering these guys work out together in the offseason, you have to look at it as, hey, there is a connection. There is there's a relationship already there and they can build on it. And I think he's right. Having a guy who could bring something out of the guy. Chris Carter and Randy Moss, there was about maybe like a 10-year age gap between this. I have to double check what the exact number was, but I'm assuming that was about a 10-year age gap. There's not a 10-year age gap thing. So maybe, the better analogy for those guys, I'm just double checking here. How old was, I'm trying to look here to see exactly how old these guys were back in 98 when Randy came in. So Randy was 21. Carter was, it's even more than 10 years. It's a 12-year age difference. So, yeah, there's not a 12-year age difference between A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. So maybe the Moss-Carter analogy wasn't the best analogy. But I think an example of that, if you were to use a different analogy, if you want to look at it this way, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin with the Bucs, okay? That Tampa team down there is very good, okay? And I think Mike Evans is I would consider Mike Evans one of the best talent-wise receivers in the NFL. I know he's been injured off and on for the last few years, but you go back to Mike Evans, right? Mike Evans was productive every single year in and year out. But that 2020 season when Tom Brady came along and he really maximized the talent on that roster, right? You look at the age difference between a guy like Mike Evans at the time was 27, Chris Godwin is 24. I think that's the better analogy for those guys because I think Evans and Godwin complement each other like Brown and Smith do. It's not that there's this great gap in talent between them. They're just different types of players. Mike Evans, like A.J. Brown, is a go up and get it guy who also is an underrated deep threat. Devonta Smith, like Chris Godwin, they are elite high-level route runners with really good hands. So I think those are the connective tissues. But I do like the fact he said that they complement each other. Randy Moss, more on the man he says he's worked out with, Devonta Smith.
That's just toughness. I mean, the first time I met him, I just looked at him. I said, "You won the Heisman?" And then I had to sit up there and think, "Randy, you was a little skinny tree yourself." So it just shows you that all the things that you hear, this guy's not big enough, he's not fast enough, he doesn't have enough weight. Them are all myths. That's just what they say. But I think it's about the heart of the athlete. And Devontae Smith has one of the biggest hearts out there. He shows it in his gameplay.
And Randy's right. There were a lot of people coming out of college, and he even said, he said, I did it myself. They looked at Devontae Smith and say, "You won the Heisman, you skinny little guy." But he said, it's the toughness. It's the heart of the guy. And it tells you that for a guy like Randy Moss to look at a guy like Devonta Smith and say, look, you can't look at his size. You got to look at who he is. I think Devonta Smith is turning himself into one of the best receivers in the league. And if you look at the article I wrote at 973 ESPN.com a couple of weeks ago, ESPN Plus, they interviewed all of these executives from around the NFL, all these coaches, all these scouts, and said, we want you to rank the best players at every position. Well, they had A.J. Brown in the top 10. Devonta Smith got an honorable mention. Part of the reason why he got an honorable mention was because of his route running, because of what he's capable of. And the people who were surveyed around the NFL said that Smith would be a number one receiver for many other teams. So being the number 2 guy in Philadelphia actually almost makes him better. All right, let's get a little more from Randy Moss here. Randy Moss was on the Take Off John Clark podcast, and he was asked about, can the Eagles get back to the Super Bowl? Because the question is, hey, teams that lose the biggest game of the year have a lot of trouble getting back there the next year because it takes health. It takes a lot of things going your way. There's a lot of goodwill that happens to a football team that get them to the championship. Well, Randy Moss explained why he thinks the Eagles can get back to the Super Bowl this year.
I believe with the leadership of a Kelsey, of a Jalen Hurts, just the things that I've been reading, the things that I've been looking at on TV, I think the Philadelphia Eagles can get back to that. I really do. I mean, they got the key guys in place. But one thing that through the history of being able to try to go back to a second consecutive Super Bowl, you have free agency in place. You have a late season. You're the last 2 teams standing. So you have a short off season. Did the Philadelphia Eagles team, did they rest their bodies this year, or did they party a little bit? So a lot of things you have to take into consideration to be able to get back to the Super Bowl. But if there's any team, just with the leadership of Jalen Hurts, the head coach, with the nucleus of guys that they already have, I think that if there's a chance, they can represent the NFC again.
It's interesting he points to the leadership, because I think that for a lot of people, they don't always value leadership. They value, well, who's the best quarterback and who's the best receivers and who's the best offensive line and who's got the best defense and what coach do I think is the best. And I think Moss focusing on leadership gives you an idea of how people around the league who play in the league look at the game differently. I watched that Netflix quarterback show, and one of the things that was very obvious on that show was the leadership qualities of these quarterbacks. And he mentioned, hey, Jalen Hurts' leadership, Jason Kelsey's leadership. And I thought that was very interesting to talk about how, hey, Jason Kelsey, Jalen Hurts, they're part of the leadership of this team. And I think that is a huge, huge dynamic that does not get talked about enough. But the fact that, these guys are leading their teammates to greatness. And I think for me, when I look at around the NFL, who are the teams with the best leadership? Well, it's the Eagles. It's the Chiefs. It's a team, for example, like the Bengals when Joe Burrow is out there. Obviously, Joe Burrow is going to miss several weeks, it looks like. So who knows how much time he's going to be out for and how that'll impact that team. And we see how leadership hurts teams as well, how it hurt Carolina in some ways last year, how it has hurt Washington, Ron Rivera having to be the only voice of reason in a toxic organization that's now changing ownership, how a lack of leadership hurt the Arizona Cardinals the last couple of years with the people who were down there in Arizona. So we see how lacking of leadership hurts organizations as well. And I think the leadership is a huge part of it. Speaking of Jalen Hurts, Randy Moss has more praise for Jalen Hurts. This is from the John Clark Get Off podcast.
I can't say enough about the leadership of Jalen Hurts. I watched the man in college. I've seen his ups and downs through college. He's getting drafted here to Philly. Now he's the man. He's the face of this franchise. And I really think the leadership coming from your quarterback means a lot. It could be any other position, Kelsey, AJ, Devontae, anybody. coming from your quarterback. I like what I see in Philly.
It's pretty rare at the age of 24.
That's true. Hey, man, it's showing his maturity.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when I say the leadership, you have a 53-man roster, and all of those 52 are following him. And I love to see it, man, because he puts the team on his back and he carries them to the promised land. I like it.
I love how, he responds to when John Clark says, hey, he's just 24. And he's like, that doesn't matter. Because he's right. The age doesn't matter. It's who the person is that matters. It's the quality of the individual, the intangible they bring to the table. I got criticized last year by certain people who kept trying to tell me intangibles don't matter. Stop bringing up intangibles. I don't care about Jalen Hurts' intangibles. Well, guess what? Those intangibles were why the Eagles made a run to the Super Bowl, and Randy Moss just told you why those intangibles are important. So the next time you hear somebody tell you that intangibles aren't important, tell them to go take a long walk on a short pier, because intangibles do matter. Intangibles are important. Who the person is a reflection of the work they put into being great. Jalen Hurts said, I don't want to be a part of the Netflix quarterback show because I don't want the distractions. I want to focus on making the main thing the main thing. Jalen turned around and said that my story hasn't been written yet. I'm not ready to tell my story. He is a different breed of athlete. And because he's a different breed of athlete is what makes him special. And look, he's not going to be the guy as a spokesman for 20 different ads. He's not going to be the guy who goes out there and looks for a lot of attention. He's not going out to the clubs. He's not being seen out with the celebrities. He's doing work. And when you do see him out, it's usually for a charity. It's usually to help other people. It's not to help himself or, elevate his own profile. I think that is what is very fascinating about Jalen. And to hear a guy like Randy Moss, and Randy was interesting because, during his career, you thought of Randy as a me kind of guy, but to hear him be such a team oriented, be that important to him, I think is a huge part of, his view of the world around him. All right. That's the Randy Moss audio from the John Clark Get Off podcast. I'll have more of the audio coming up in the next hour. Josh Hennig hanging out with you here on the Sports Bash, filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle. Don't forget to keep text coming in, 609-403-0973. Your DMs in the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle. And still to come, coming up in about 15 minutes from now, Rob Motti from the Associated Press, also co-host of the Faith on the Field show, heard Saturdays and Sundays right here on 97.3 ESPN. We'll talk more NFL coming up with Rob a little bit later in the show, top of the next hour.
A sports station that hits a home run every time.
Swing and a drive. Forget it. Right field, way back. Look out. Second deck, and it's gone. Kyle Schwarber with a mammoth home run over the right field fence into the second deck.
It's 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's home for the best Phillies sports talk.
Matt Blatt Kia wants to give you independence. Yes, independence. Like freedom from down payments.
I got approved with 0 down.
Freedom from high interest rates.
I got 2.49% for 72 months.
Freedom from overpriced new vehicles.
I got $6,000 off MSRP.
But most important, freedom from your old car.
I was told I was stuck in my lease. Matt Blatt Kia got me released.
Low 2.49% financing. Up to 72 months on every new EV in stock. And 0 down on every Kia in stock. Plus, get $6,000 off MSRP on every new Kia EV in stock. Finance your future, not your past. Even first-time buyers can drive with peace of mind with our exclusive 4-day love it or leave it return policy.
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
With approved credit, not all will qualify. Go to mattblackkianj.com for complete details or 888-505-6670. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer except for licensing, registration, and taxes through KMF, Kia Niro, and EV. $635 customer cash plus $22.50 dealer discount off MSRP. Expires 8/5/23. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike. A Harper Township. And now on Route 37 in Tom's River.
Staples presents a lesson in back-to-school savings. Your local Staples now accepts Amazon returns. So when you return your Amazon order at Staples, you receive a coupon for $10 off your next $30 Staples purchase. So you can save even more on top of huge back-to-school deals. Like right now, 2-pocket poly folders and Staples 8-count number 2 pencils are each just 50 cents. Staples gives you more ways to save even more. 50-cent offers end 8/26. Pricing and limits may vary in-store and online. Amazon return offer in-store only. Exclusions apply.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
At Metal Supermarkets, we're all about getting you and your crew to quit in time sooner. That's why our service is a cut above. You see, no matter the project, we'll get you to the right metal, shape, and grade. Cut to any size, ready real fast. And yeah, we'll deliver, leaving plenty of time for the important things, like opening an ice-cold can of aluminum. Metal Supermarkets. Order online at metalsupermarkets.com.
Are you ready to smell better naked? I'm Dr. Shannon Klingman, the OBGYN creator of Lumi, the whole body deodorant that's clinically proven to control odor for 72 hours on pits, feet, privates, and beyond. It's pH optimized to safely and effectively control odor anywhere you have it, but wish you didn't. Plus, it's proven to work better than a shower with soap alone. Whether you shower twice a day or 3 times a week, Lumi works better. And did we mention it's aluminum free? With over 200,000 5-star reviews, I'm so sure you're going to love it, or you can return it for free.
There's a special offer for listeners. Use code 800 and get an extra $5 off a Lumi starter pack that comes with a solid stick, cream tube, free product of your choice, and ships free with code 800. LUMEdeodorant.com, code 800 for an extra $5 off a Lumi starter pack. Love it or return it for free. That's LUMEdeodorant.com, code 800.
Get fast, reliable Xfinity Internet, and now you can add a whole new way to watch the entertainment you love. Introducing Now TV, the best value in live TV and streaming, just $20 a month. Get over 40 live channels, plus watch movies, shows, and live sports with Peacock Premium, a $5.99 a month value, included at no extra cost. Start watching thousands of hours of content in minutes. So whether you're an action junkie, a sports buff, or a romance fanatic, you can stream all the entertainment you love, all on the network made for streaming. Now through September 21st, get the best value in live TV and streaming, all on the best network. Switch to Xfinity Internet for $25 a month for 12 months, and add Now TV with Peacock Premium included for just $20 a month. Call, click, or visit a store to switch today. Requires paperless billing and autopay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Now TV requires Xfinity Internet. Internet equipment, taxes, and fees extra. After promo, regular rates apply to internet service. Actual speeds vary.
Hey, it's me, Ruthie from Total Wine & More. Our new lower prices on hundreds of wines are here to stay. With the lowest prices for over 30 years, you'll always find what you love and love what you find. Only at Total Wine & More. Drink responsibly, be 21.
Now, back to more Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's sports leader.
We'll give you the lineup again for the Phillies. We mentioned it in the last hour. We'll repeat it back to you again. The Phillies lineup being brought to you by Clark's Moving and Storage, located on Railroad Avenue in Rio Grande. Kyle Schwarber leads off Alec Boehm in the 2-hole now. Bryce Harper in the 3, JT Realmuto 4, Bryson Stott 5, Trey Turner 6, Brandon Marsh 7, Jake Cave 8, and Johan Rojas in the 9 spot. Harper is DHing tonight. Schwarber is in left field. Rojas is in center. Your boy Jake Cave is at first base. So we'll see what the Phillies can do with this lineup. It feels like that this lineup was born out of the weekend frustration because, there were a lot of Philly fans who were looking at this weekend and said, you should have done this, you could have done that, you could have done this, you should have done this. And it feels like I was asking Bob Wankel from Crossing Broad earlier about this, and I said, what do you think the conversation is between these baseball lifers? Rob Thompson, he's been around the game of baseball pretty much his whole professional life. Dan Fold is a GM. He played in the major leagues. He's now worked in front offices for years. And Dave Dombrowski, he's been an executive at different teams basically since the early 90s. So, I don't know how those conversations go, but I have to imagine those three guys are sitting down saying, what can we do to make this work? And I felt like initially knocking Trey Turner out of the 2 spot was kind of a fine we gave into the fans kind of move. This lineup decision looks a lot more like a team saying, hey, we got to find an answer to these problems. And then benching Nick Castellanos is a clear sign that they're trying to find a couple days here and there to give guys off to try to maybe help these guys get recalibrated. Harper came out of the All-Star break way better than before. Trey Turner even had a 7-game run where he was playing well coming out of the All-Star break. Castellanos didn't really get a true All-Star break, and you have to wonder how much has that impacted him coming back from the All-Star game. That stretch of games, now when you look back on it, it looks a little more problematic because you're talking about a guy in Castellanos since the All-Star break. He's batting 123. For those who don't know, that's horrible. The guy has 23 strikeouts. 23 strikeouts in that 16-game stretch. That's a problem. So maybe sitting him today gives him an opportunity to recalibrate. The problem is for the Phillies, Sandy Alcantara plays tomorrow, so you put Castellanos out there to play against Alcantara? Yikes. Alcantara has really found himself recently, so I think that is going to be a tough game for them tomorrow, but we'll see how they do tonight. Obviously, they're in this road trip, Pittsburgh and Miami, so we'll see if they can kind of make some dents, make some noise to finish off this road trip, because remember, the deadline is tomorrow at 6 p.m. We are practically 25 hours from the deadline, and as of 4:55 p.m., they had not made a move as of yet. So, something to think about with the Phillies as we get closer to the deadline. All right, coming up next, more football talk. Rob Motti next on 97.3 ESPN.
South Jersey business owners, when Eagles football returns to the airwaves this season, don't miss out. Make sure your business is a part of the Philadelphia Eagles season with Merrill Reese and Mike Quick on 97.3 ESPN. Touchdown! Every week, the NFL's most passionate fan base flocks to 97.3 ESPN radio to listen to their favorite team, the Philadelphia Eagles. Advertising with the Eagles can help your business connect with the consumers you are trying to reach. 97.3 ESPN is the most listened to sports source in all of South Jersey. That's what makes 97.3 ESPN such a powerful station for your business's message. So this Eagles season, don't have your business sitting on the sidelines. Be a part of the Philadelphia Eagles season on 97.3 ESPN. To be a part of the Eagles season, call Market President Mike Rubel at 609-910-5249.
At Grainger, we're for the ones who pay attention to every little detail, the ones who fuss, tinker, and sweat the small stuff. Because you know the tiniest thing can make the biggest difference when it comes to keeping business moving. We get it. We're the same way, offering access to product experts to help you quickly and easily find what you need. So whatever your industry, you know you're always getting professional-grade products. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Happy 62nd birthday, Granddad.
Thanks, sweetheart.
I got you this.
A mug. Oh, thank you. What does it say?
Beware, if you are 60 or older, you may be at increased risk of hospitalization from RSV, respiratory syncytial virus, compared to adults younger than 60.
Not all dangers come with warning labels. Talk to your pharmacist or doctor about getting vaccinated against RSV today. Learn more at bewareofrsv.com. Brought to you by Pfizer.
0, 0, 0. Get your zeros here. That's a zipper zero zilcha.
No, that's a hit! Get low APR financing at Matt Blatt Nissan with 0 interest on every new Nissan in stock.
Oh, yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Put 0 down, pay 0% financing, or make 0 payments for 90 days on every Matt Blatt Nissan in stock. Plus, with your job clearing $450 per week at Matt Blatt Nissan, you're virtually approved. If other dealers are telling you that you're stuck in a loan or lease, AJ the Trade Man can get you released, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth, and you can't buy a new ride anywhere else with peace of mind, like Matt Blatt Nissan's exclusive 4-day love it or leave it return policy. Only at MattBlattNissan.com. On approved Tier 1 credit through NEMAC. Negative equity will be refinanced into new vehicle plus tax tag and $589 doc fee. Offers can't be combined. Call 877-289-6670 or go to MattBlattNissan.com for complete details. Offer ends 8/6/2023. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan. The Black Horse Pike. Egg Harbor Township.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
AutoZone is more than a parts store. It's where we help you solve problems like, sorry I'm late, my battery died. And
I need a jump again.
at America's #1 battery destination, you can find the right battery at the right price with options starting at only $89.99. And we offer free battery testing and charging whenever you need it. Get the parts and help you need to get the job done right at AutoZone.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Now your ideas don't have to wait. Now they have everything they need to come to life. Dell Technologies and Intel are creating technology that loves ideas, loves expanding your business, evolving your passions. We push what technology can do, so great ideas can happen right now. Find out how to bring your ideas to life at Dell.com. Welcome to Now.
Hey, it's Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow exploring exciting destinations throughout New Jersey, sponsored by the New Jersey Division of Travel and Tourism. After a day of fun in the sun on Long Beach Island, check out Surflight Theater in Beach Haven, offering Broadway at the beach since 1950. My wife and I loved Something Rotten this past weekend. Truly top-notch Broadway-level talent. Annie Warbucks and Disaster the Musical are up next, and don't miss Surflight's musicals for children, great for all ages. Find your perfect New Jersey getaway with ideas and a free travel guide at visitnj.org.
The voice of sports in South Jersey. The Mike Gill.
You guys are the #1 sports station.
WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City, a town square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Now, live inside the Matt Blatt Kia Studios, here's Mike Gill.
Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill, final hour of Monday's edition of the Sports Batch here on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. No game night tonight. I'm just filling in for Mike Gill today. I'll be back on doing game night tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN. As promised, right now joining us on the Elite Acura Hotline, Rob Motti covers the NFL for the Associated Press. He joins me throughout the year talking the NFL here on 97.3 ESPN. Also, you can hear Faith on the Field Saturday and Sunday mornings right here on 97.3 ESPN. Rob, welcome back in. How you doing on this Monday?
What's going on, Josh? How are you? I had a crazy travel weekend, but I'm home and happy and survived it, and all that's good.
Yeah, I saw that you have a potential dispute pending for the next 20 years with about every airline at this point.
It's horrific, man. It's hard. I had a 10-hour delay at American Airlines, and like they don't even offer you
Nothing.
Not. I don't even want a meal voucher or any. At least offer, like, do something. I spent
Right.
hundreds and thousands of points on a premium time to fly. It didn't fly when I wanted it to. At least reimburse me some of these points, but they're a mess. Yeah, and that's the only way to get anything to happen, Josh, is to call them out on social media. Because if you go the other route, the quiet route, you reach out to customer service. I had like 6 or 7 conversations via email, text, all that, whatever it was, quietly while I'm waiting. Nothing. Finally say something on social media, they reach out.
Yeah, at that point, you're just saying, God, please help me say this in a way that doesn't get me in trouble either, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's the right approach.
So, Rob, let me ask you about this, because obviously we are hot and heavy in the training camps right now. I wanted to start with the big national story. This whole Sean Payton, Nathaniel Hackett, Aaron Rodgers triangle now is got to be the strangest story in football. For those who don't know the whole story, basically Sean Payton comes out and basically destroys Nathaniel Hackett, tries to walk it back, but basically says, I meant what I said. And then Aaron Rodgers basically calls Sean Payton an insecure child. So, and by the way, these teams do play each other this year. So, Rob, take it away.
Yeah, Josh, I was really surprised Sean Payton made those comments. And yeah, when he comes out the next day and said, he doesn't deny it. He said, hey, I said this to Jarrett Bell from USA Today, but I put my Fox hat back on for a moment and forgot that I was a head coach. So he's kind of trying to excuse himself by saying, hey, for a minute there, I forgot I was a head coach. And it's like last year when he was an analyst. But I thought Aaron Rodgers handled it very well. Robert Saleh handled it very well with the Jets. But what Rodgers said isn't all that wrong. Like, the way he threw Nathaniel Hackett under the bus, that was incredible criticism from one head coach current in the NFL towards another coach or a member of the coaching fraternity. I know he's only the offensive coordinator now. And Rodgers had a point when he said, kind of like, beyond the insecure child thing, to make himself, but saying to set himself up, because Peyton gives himself a little bit of leeway here. If things don't work out well this year in Denver, well, it was the worst coaching job. The organization screwed this up so badly that it's going to take more than 1 year for me to recover and build this back up. So that's kind of what I thought he was getting at.
How much do you think Peyton, because he comes from that Bill Parcells tree, how much of this maybe psychological stuff, maybe for his own players, to kind of put them in like, hey, you guys weren't given the tools last year. I'm here to give you the tools you have this year.
I think part of it is a little bit psychological for the players to let them know that you're better than your record showed last year. Expectations are high, and you have to go out there and perform. But the way he went about it is a little un-Parcells-like, right? And Parcells is from the Parcells and Belichick, and like all of those coaches, they don't give teams bulletin board material. They know better than that. And as you mentioned earlier, would they play each other in week 4 of the regular season? That all of a sudden has been thrust into a big-time spotlight game, and I don't know where it was supposed to be shown on or whatever it is, but I would anticipate somebody wanting that for their game of the week at 4:15 or 4:25 or whatever it may be.
Well, I'm double checking the schedule right now. It's a 4:25 CBS. I'm assuming that's gonna be Romo and Nance.
It's already there.
It's 4:25 CBS.
Yeah, it's already there, and you're right. It probably will be Romo and Nance. Well, it's in Denver, so it's got to be at 4:25 anyway. They don't play those because of the time zone and whatnot. But that's going to be a very interesting game. And Peyton's got the bullseye on himself and the Broncos right now. And I do think some of what he said was accurate. I was just surprised that he went all out and destroyed Nathaniel Hackett the way he did. But I don't think Russell Wilson is as bad as he showed last year. Hey, we watched Nathaniel Hackett coach, right, Josh? And we saw how badly he struggled with time management, like right from, I think it was week 1 where they had issues with time management and all kind of getting plays in late and everything else. Some guys are not ready to be head coaches. Some guys are meant to be assistants, to be offensive coordinators. He's done well with Rodgers in Green Bay. Perhaps he can have a ton of success with Rodgers again in New York, and that's his thing. Some guys are D coordinator, offensive coordinator, and that's what you do. He could be one of them, or he could be somebody who learns from his experience and eventually does well as a head coach. Not sure he'll get that opportunity, though, anytime soon after last year's debacle.
Talking with Rob Motti, covers the NFL for the Associated Press, at Rob Motti on Twitter right now, joining us on the Elite Acura hotline. Speaking of Rodgers, obviously there's a lot of media circus around the Jets, not just because of Hard Knocks, but because in general. But what are your thoughts on Rodgers being so outspoken? I mean, we've only seen him in the past be outspoken on the Pat McAfee show, but now he's doing it anytime you put a microphone in front of him. He's got something to say.
Yeah, and I like that from Aaron Rodgers. I like a guy who will speak his mind when and doesn't really use it to, like, you could say Peyton was refreshing in speaking his mind, but that was surprising. It doesn't mean I didn't like it. It was just surprising that he did it. In Rodgers' case, sometimes he'll attack people who I think deserve it when he's attacking other journalists or whatnot for their reporting or how they're doing it. Rodgers is a guy who is he's a lightning rod for criticism. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's in the Big Apple right now. He's got a lot on his shoulders trying to turn this New York Jets team into a winning ball club, into a playoff team, and get them somehow deep into the playoffs and to the Super Bowl. Man, I can't believe it's been like Mark Sanchez who was the last one to get him and do anything with this team, and back-to-back AFC Championship games under Mark Sanchez. That's how long it's been for the Jets, and I think they're going to be much better this year in a very loaded, very tough AFC East and AFC.
You know, when you think about also, because you mentioned how loaded the AFC is, you know, we talk about, you know, all these teams, but I think the big question right now is about the Bengals, because I understand that Zach Taylor keeps saying, oh, you know, several weeks. Like he said that twice in his one press conference, but I don't care who you are. Trevor Siemian and Jake Browning are not making up for Joe Burrow. And I don't care how many weeks that is. The Bengals better hope Joe Burrow comes back good to go, because that's going to be a tough go for a team that depends on him.
Oh, absolutely. And several weeks to me is slightly ominous, Josh. When you say several weeks, like, you're not looking at 2 to 3 or 3 to 5. When I think several, I'm looking more towards 6 to 8 or beyond. And that doesn't bode well for the Bengals and their play. I had them in my all too early prediction going to the Super Bowl. And if you stumble out of the gate, well, if Joe Burrow is going to miss time here, he's going to miss the entire training camp, clearly. So it seems, and you have to start a few games with whether it's Simeon. When they sign Reed Stinnett too, they will have a hard time making up for that, because we've seen how important it is to have home field advantage. We know that they might be able to recover. They had an 0-2 start last year and still won the division. But you need to set yourself up for that number 1 seed, and having Joe Burrow out an extended period of time, even when he does come in, there's going to be a little bit of rust. There's going to be a little bit of lack of chemistry. They're going to have to work things out. And I feel that brings them down a peg or two in the AFC, to where I go from them being, in my eyes, favorites going into the season. Now I got them in that top 3, top 5 category, and you start looking at the Bills and the Chiefs again, and perhaps even the Jets, and see what Miami can do. And the Chargers got to take a step up too. The only teams I don't look at in that conference is having a real shot is the South.
Yeah, there's only one team in the South, right? It's just Jacksonville.
Yeah, I look at Jacksonville there as running away with it. And, you know, I know it's the second year for Doug Peterson, and we remember what he did in his second year in Philadelphia. He won the Super Bowl, but I don't think they're there yet. I think they're in that next tier of teams to where there's some separation between them and Kansas City and them and Buffalo and Cincinnati. If Cincinnati was all together, this might allow Jacksonville to sneak into, instead of that 4 seed, because I think they're going to win the division, instead of that 4 seed, giving them an opportunity. Maybe they got a chance at that 3 seed, but I still don't put them in that top tier of teams there. It'd be interesting to see what Dougie P could do for sure in his second year. I don't anticipate it going from winning that playoff game, coming back and everything they did, which was tremendous, and having getting it to the playoffs against Kansas City in the next round. But that doesn't mean that they can't at some point in his tenure, year 3, year 4, compete for that Super Bowl.
Speaking of Doug Peterson, slipping over to the Philadelphia Eagles, his former team. Rob, I want to know from you, Randy Moss thinks that A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith are the best wide receiver duo in the NFL. He said if he had to have competition, it would be the Bengals 2 guys. What is your reaction to Randy Moss saying that?
I think you can make a strong case for A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith being the top wide receiver duo in the NFL. Look at what they did last year. And we forget that Devontae he's a young guy. He's still growing. He's still learning. He's still maturing. And he makes some sensational catches. He makes some acrobatic catches. He's still learning the nuances of running routes and how to set guys up. You're setting a guy up from one route to the next. There may be a several times during the course of the game when you're not the primary receiver, you're not even a secondary receiver. So you run a route a certain way, knowing that the next time that play is called, you're going to do it a little differently. So you're setting up that defensive back, that corner, so you can beat them when you are the primary target. So I think Devonta Smith can take a big leap. We saw a nice leap from year 1 to year 2. I think he could go even better in year 3. We talk always about Jalen Hurts, and his ceiling still hasn't reached it. Certainly not at all, Josh, with Devonta Smith. And then A.J. Brown had a tremendous season last year in his first with Jalen Hurts. They were still, the building chemistry, still working together. Like, these 2 guys could be both 1,200, 1,300-yard receivers this year for the Eagles. So I wouldn't argue with Randy Moss on that. The one argument on rankings, you saw the Athletics executives and all that, and Jalen wasn't in the top tier of quarterbacks. That I do have a major argument with.
Well, why do you think people did that, though? Is it just, he only did it for 1 year? Is that what you think the attitude is there?
I don't know, because so it was 50 guys, and I think the breakdown was like 43 were executive related. Like somehow there were coaches, there was GMs, there was executives, but then I guess there were others who weren't within that. So I wonder what the breakdown was, if it was all only NFL people. But I think Jalen's ability to run the ball and the fact that Jalen does so much on the ground leads to some people, some detractors, because I think, Josh, that's it. It shouldn't be a knock, because it makes him a dual threat, a multi-threat, a triple threat, because he can do so many different things. But I think some people underestimate his ability to throw the football in the pocket, ability to create outside the pocket and still throw the football, because he's such a dominant runner. He could lead the Eagles in rushing if he wanted to. Didn't have to last year. They had a great multiple weapons running the ball, led by Miles Sanders. So I think that works against him. But I can't look. I looked at that top 5, and I see Justin Herbert in there, and I'm not taking Justin Herbert right now. Maybe down the road, maybe 2 years from now, maybe this year, maybe Jalen. There's some separation, but right now I'm taking Jalen over Justin Herbert, and right now I'm taking Jalen over Josh Allen. The only 2 I wouldn't is Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow, and that's it. And obviously Aaron Rodgers was in that top 5 for longevity, for what he's done to. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer, but right now at his age, 1 year or 2 years left, maybe 3. I don't know with Aaron Rodgers. You're still not going Rodgers at that age over Jalen Hurts. So I don't know why the disrespect from the executives and the coaches and whoever was part of that poll.
I mean, for me, I think Allen gets way too much recognition right now because I mean, the guy had a ton of turnovers last year, the first year without Brian Dable. And I'm not saying it was all Brian Dable that made him successful, but I think it was a huge part of his development. And I think that when a quarterback starts having red zone issues, it makes me nervous, Rob. And guess what? Hurts has been to a Super Bowl. Burrow's been to a Super Bowl. Josh Allen hasn't. And if that's how we're grading these guys, can your guy help you win a championship? Josh Allen, to me, still has not proven that he is on that level.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I don't know if you saw this interview. I was watching NFL Network on my flight yesterday, and Michael Robinson was interviewing Josh Allen. And I know he's sitting there with them, and I know he wants to suck up and everything else. And he's like, you won't say it, but to me, the best quarterback in the NFL, the top guy. And I'm like, dude, are you not aware of Patrick Mahomes? Like, how do you – I understand he's sitting right there, and you can say one of the top. You can say a great quarterback. You can go whatever, but don't call it – like, that's just crazy to say Josh Allen. And that goes to your point of the national love that Josh Allen gets. And he's a top 5. He's a top 4. And you can argue – if some people want to argue top 3, that's great. He's not the best. And right now, I'm with you. I'm not putting him ahead of you. I'm not putting him ahead of Mahomes, Burrow, or Jalen Hurts. But to sit there and call him the best, like that was a little outrageous.
Well, it's kind of like Micah Parsons saying that the Cowboys are the best team in the NFC. It's probably the same idea.
Well, yeah, but Micah, though, Josh, is talking about his team, right? And you could say you got to think your team is the best. You're not going to say, hey, we're the 3rd best team. We're the 4th best team. We got a shot. No, you're going to sit there. It's like the old Jimmy Rollins in 2007 to be we're the team to beat in the NL East when they hadn't won anything or been to the playoffs in – at that point, it was 93 to 2007. So I get that from Micah Parsons, and I'll let him slide. He could say that. And I think there's not much separation from the Eagles to the Cowboys and the Niners, all 3 of those teams. But if you're somebody who's an outsider as an analyst and then you're making outlandish statements like that, it's like, all right, man, come on.
By the way, speaking of the Cowboys, Rob, I think they're making a huge mistake leaving Zach Martin out to dry right now. I mean, this guy – he's arguably the best guard on the planet. He's going to the Hall of Fame one day. Yeah. And if you're really trying to put your quarterback in a position to be successful, you got to protect him. And I think he only had 1 year where he was significantly injured his entire career. I mean, the guy is a staple of that team's stability. And I think the way Jerry Jones and company are treating him right now is a huge disservice.
Yeah, and Dak made it clear he wants him to pay Zach Martin, he said in one of his news conferences. And you got to take care of the guys who take care of and protect your quarterback. And offensive linemen like Zach Martin are in that elite category. It shouldn't be. This isn't running backs. This isn't guys that you can win and find different players to plug and play with. He's, as you said, a future Hall of Famer. And right now, that's a guy you got to step up and take care of. I look at San Francisco, too, with Nick Bosa, and he's holding out, and that's a situation that you would think they're going to resolve at some point. That's a guy at his position on a D-line that's tremendously important to the success of that defense, too.
When you think about those defenses, I mean – how do you even differentiate between the Cowboys and 49ers? I mean, the 49ers are the defense that everybody talks about because they've gotten to multiple NFC championships. But you could argue that bringing in Stephon Gilmore, Rob, is a huge upgrade for the Cowboys because now, guess what? Diggs isn't your number 1 anymore. He's kicked the number 2 corner.
Yeah, and Diggs had that. It wasn't last year, right? 2 years ago, where he had all those interceptions, and
right.
That kind of like made him. Put him in that spotlight as one of the top guys, but he gets beat. He's beat because he gambles a little bit sometimes on those, trying to make those plays, trying to make those splash plays, and for them to bring in Stephon Gilmore, I thought was a major addition to that defense. He's a guy who has had tremendous success. He's been a defensive player of the year. He knows what it takes to win games. He knows, coming obviously from New England before he was in Indianapolis, he knows what locker rooms look like on winning teams. And I think he's going to add a lot to that defense from a leadership standpoint, because you got a guy like Micah Parsons who may sometimes, he speaks his mind, he's refreshing, he's an incredibly tremendously talented player, but Stephon might be good for him. Hey, focus on your thing. Don't be worried. Micah's got a tendency sometimes to be chirping too much or to be on social media paying attention to who's saying what about him. Just go out there and do your business and handle that. I think Stephon is a guy who could help him in that regard. And they got a nice mix there of veteran. DeMarcus Lawrence, obviously, too, is another veteran who I don't know how much he feeds into talking to Mike about stuff like that, because when we talked, I think it was like last month or so, he said sometimes we don't necessarily agree. So I think DeMarcus doesn't want Micah to be that outspoken as well either.
He's Rob Motti. Follow him on Twitter at Rob Motti for all your NFL coverage. Don't forget about Faith on the Field every Saturday and Sunday morning here on 97.3 ESPN. Rob, always appreciate you jumping on, and hope everything goes well with your war with the airlines.
Thanks, Josh. I appreciate it, my friend.
And of course, Rob's appearance was on the Elite Acura hotline. Visit Elite Acura during the Summer of Performance event located on Route 73 North in Maple Shade, online at EliteAcura.com. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on a Monday edition of the Sports Bash here on 97.3 ESPN. I see some text coming in. We'll get to you guys on the other side. 609-403-0973 is the text board, and your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle.
There's only one place for live sports and sports talk in South Jersey. Oh, yeah! Your sports station is 97.3 ESPN.
Staples has big savings on everything you need for back to school or stocking up the office. Save on signs, banners, and posters from Staples Print and Marketing Services. Save on everything you need for travel, like luggage, tech, and travel-size personal items. Plus, save on all your school essentials, from notebooks to markers. Now at Staples, you can save even more with $25 back in rewards on your in-store purchase of $75 or more. Get everything for the office and the classroom for less at Staples. Ends 8/5. Redeemable in-store only. Rewards members only.
Deodorant you use on your butt? You heard that right. I'm Dr. Shannon Klingman, founder of Lumi Whole Body Deodorant. It's time to summer-proof your body odor. Lumi's formula works everywhere. Pits, underboobs, and yep, butts too. All those places that naturally tend to get a little bit stinky when the weather gets hot. Lumi's clinically proven to control odor for 72 hours. That's 3 whole days of fresh fun in the sun. As an OBGYN, I met thousands of women looking for a better way to control odor below the belt. So I created Lumi, a pH-optimized aluminum-free deodorant that actually works, with over 150,000 5-star reviews to prove it. Ready for your freshest summer ever? Head to LumiDeodorant.com to get started.
There's a special offer for listeners. Use code 26 and get an extra $5 off a Lumi starter pack that comes with a free product of your choice and ships free with code 26. LumeDeodorant.com, code 26 for an extra $5 off a Lumi starter pack. That's LumeDeodorant.com, code 26.
Matt Blatt Kia wants to give you independence. Yes, independence. Like freedom from down payments.
I got approved with 0 down.
Freedom from high interest rates.
I got 2.49% for 72 months.
Freedom from overpriced new vehicles.
I got $6,000 off MSRP.
But most important, freedom from your old car.
I was told I was stuck in my lease. Matt Blatt Kia got me released.
Low 2.49% financing up to 72 months on every new EV in stock and 0 down on every Kia in stock. Plus, get $6,000 off MSRP on every new Kia EV in stock. Finance your future, not your past. Even first-time buyers can drive with peace of mind with our exclusive 4-day love it or leave it return policy.
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
With approved credit, not all will qualify. Go to mattblackkianj.com for complete details or 888-505-6670. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer except for licensing, registration, and taxes through KMF, Kia Niro, and EV. $635 customer cash plus $22.50 dealer discount off MSRP. Expires 8/5/23. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and now on Route 37 in Toms River.
At Grainger, we're for the ones who pay attention to every little detail. The ones who fuss, tinker, and sweat the small stuff. Because you know the tiniest thing can make the biggest difference when it comes to keeping business moving. We get it. We're the same way, offering access to product experts to help you quickly and easily find what you need. So whatever your industry, you know you're always getting professional grade products. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Welcome back to Total Wine.
Hey, Ruthie, I need help filling the ultimate beach cooler.
Well, we have the most hard seltzers and amazing canned cocktails anywhere, and at the lowest prices in town. Always find what you love and love what you find. Only at Total Wine & More. Drink responsibly, be 21.
Powered by the all-new BetParks New Jersey Casino and Sportsbook app. BetParks.com. This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
Good Monday afternoon. I'm Josh Hennig with your South Jersey Sports Center. The Phillies look to break out of a 2-game losing streak as they continue their road trip in Miami tonight against the Marlins, with Taijuan Walker making the start, first pitch at 6:40 p.m. Could Eagles running back DeAndre Swift be in line for a bigger role than we expected this season? Here's what Nick Sirianni had to say about the Eagles' new running back.
He's got unique ability, which is one part of the reason why we wanted him to be on this football team. And so we really like some of the things that he can do out of the backfield as a runner and also as a receiver. And he's showing that he has that ability of what we thought that he had when he was in Detroit and then coming out of Georgia also.
Get more Eagles, Sixers, Phillies, and Flyers when you download our app. Your forecast is next.
Atlantic City is your place for really fun, really cool times this summer. Live it up with a true original. Enter to win an authentic AC getaway at AtlanticCityNJ.com.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. Aside from an isolated pop-up shower or thunderstorm, this evening looks fantastic, comfortable and crisp. Skies will go mainly clear tonight with a low temperature around 65 degrees. Tomorrow looks great, sun and clouds, high at 80. Can't complain about that. Wednesday, mostly sunny, high 79. We'll see a bit more humidity and some clouds on Thursday. Also our next chance for showers and thunderstorms. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
Radio continues to reach more consumers than all other forms of traditional media. Do you own or run a business in South Jersey? Then you need the expertise of Town Square Media. The combination of radio and digital drives results. All of our Town Square Media clients get their unfair share of customers. We have the expertise in creating solutions for businesses in South Jersey. Let us help build your brand, increase sales, and give your business the boost it needs this summer. Call Jim McClain today at 609-645-9797.
Now, back to more Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97. The sports leader.
5:30 here on a Monday edition of the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill for one more day. Mike will be back in the saddle tomorrow. I'm on with you for the final day of July. Mike is back for the first day of August here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Great stuff as always from Rob Motti there, and it instigated at least one texter to react to the Eagles conversation. Got some other texts to get to as well, 609-403-0970. But Shaner and EHT chimes in about the Eagles and says, I'm at 12-5 or 13-4 for the Birds. Starting with the Jets through Bills worries me. Maybe the Rams too. Go Birds. That's from Shaner in EHT. Well, Shaner, historically, I have never been the kind of guy to do my, win-loss with the schedule before I actually see everything play out more. But I think that you are maybe, at least for me, maybe being a little more ambitious about their schedule, because I think you're right. That stretch of games when they have to play some of those teams is definitely going to be problematic. To me, there's two different spots in the schedule that I think are potentially going to be some serious landmines. I think the first stretch starts, you just mentioned part of it. You have Washington bookending a run of games. And in between there, you have to go to the Los Angeles Rams, go away to the New York Jets, come home to the Miami Dolphins, and then finish the stretch at Washington and then against Dallas after that for the bye week. So listen, there's a strong possibility you start the year out 3-0. But that Washington game is definitely going to be interesting. That's the first 1:00 game they're going to have the entire season. And you look through their schedule, as of right now, they only have 3 1:00 games the entire season. 2 against Washington before the bye week, and then the New Year's Eve game against Arizona at home. The rest of their schedule right now is all 425, 405s, and then primetime games. So, to me, I think it's going to be very interesting to see how that impacts them. Football players are creatures of habit. When they're used to, playing at one time, they adjust to another time. And then, look, I think they can beat the Rams. I don't think that's the problem. But if you look through this schedule, I think that there's potentially 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think there's at least 5 to 6 losses on this schedule at minimum. That's why for you, Shaner, I would lean to the 12-5, 11-6 more than the 13-4. Not because I don't think the Eagles are arguably the best team in the NFC, but it's because the schedule lays out in a way that's going to create some landmines. I think the Jets are going to be a huge problem for a lot of teams this year on the schedule. I think that Dallas is probably, if not the second best, the third best team in the NFC. And if they play up to their expectations and their abilities and their talent, they're definitely a huge problem for you. The likelihood of you being Kansas City in Kansas City on Monday Night Football seems pretty low. Then you got Buffalo and San Francisco back-to-back games at home. And I'm assuming that it's going to be difficult for you to win both of those games. Then you got to hit the road and play Dallas Cowboys, Seattle Seahawks, back-to-back weeks on the road. So this feels like a schedule where there is definitely some opportunity for you to get tripped up and have some problems. So Shaner and EHC, I would lean to the 12-5, 11-6 side for me more than the 13-4 side for the Eagles this season. 609-403-0973 is the text port. And by the way, on top of all of that, I would also say this. I think that the interesting part of the Eagles schedule as well is, let's say you get through the first half of that schedule before the bye week. Let's say you get through those 9 weeks and you're, 7-2, let's say. All right. I have to assume that Washington is going to be better than they were last year. I think the Minnesota game, by the way, what are the odds that you play Minnesota week 2 for 2 straight years? I mean, that in itself is just bizarre to me. You're starting the season on the road in New England. So that's 2 straight years you start the season on the road. That's 2 straight years you have Minnesota the second week of the season. I mean, the schedule feels like there's going to be a letdown game somewhere before the bye week. Tampa's weird. I don't know what to make of them. I mean, if they get their quarterback situation figured out, they are definitely a very good and dangerous team. Like I said, Washington is the one that bothers me the most because Washington, I think, is going to be better than they were last year. And as I was saying last week, to a couple different people, if Eric Bieniemy is half as good as we all think he is of a coordinator, that's arguably the best coordinator that Washington has had in over a decade. So I think that you have a situation where you have to be concerned. And I think that you saw last year that I think the Eagles caught some teams off guard. I think that there were teams last year who didn't realize how good the Eagles were and what they were bringing to the table. I don't think people will be as caught off guard this year. So that's why I say I think that that's probably a 7-2, 6-3 first half of the season before your bye week schedule. And then after that, I mean, I'm just thinking about how the schedule plays out. I mean, you have after that, you have 8 more games left in the season. I mean, I'm assuming over those 8 games, you're trying to go 6-2 because you're trying to avoid going 5-3. Because if the season doesn't go very well and you're 11-6, you're still a playoff team, but you might not be winning the division, which means you're less likely to have as many home games in the postseason. Whereas if you can get that first half of the season to be 7-2 and somehow find a way to win the second half 6-2, then that's how you get your 13-4. But I think that's the ceiling. I think 13-4 is the ceiling. I don't think I just don't think I see it very likely. A lot of things have to go your way for a team to win 13, 14, 15 games in a season, in my opinion. 609-403-0973 is text. Probably Jeff in Ocean City chimes in. Says, don't forget the September schedule has something to also do with the Phillies schedule of home games as well. No, you're right, Jeff. Obviously, having 2 away games in the month of September and then what is that? 3 more away games in the month of October. It sounds like the NFL is aware that they're aware that the Phillies are going to be relevant. So they sent the Eagles out of town for September 10th, September 25th, October 8th, October 15th, and October 29th. So I'm sure that has something to do with it as well for Philadelphia. It is interesting that you're getting Miami in Philadelphia. You don't have to go down on Miami. I remember going to Miami back in 2019 was a huge letdown loss for the Eagles. And this year, when they do go to Florida, it's in September when there is less of a gap in weather differential between Florida and here that time of year. Whereas, remember going to Miami, what was that, in late November? Let me double check that. 2019, I believe that was like late November, early December when they went down there. So there's a much bigger difference that time of year in the weather and the atmosphere and different stuff. Like, let me see. Miami was December 1st. So I was in the neighborhood. Yeah. Yeah. December 1st is a huge difference from September 25th in terms of like weather difference between the Northeast and Florida. So, my working assumption is that, like I said, this schedule, they can start 3-0. Excuse me, 3-0, and then it's just a matter of how do you handle the October stretch? Because to me, that October 1st or November 5th is the real first gauntlet for this team. Because again, as Shannon EHT was saying, we don't know how good the Rams are going to be, but the first game of a road trip is always a little difficult for any team in the NFL. And if the Rams are healthy, they're still a very, very, very dangerous team. And think about who the Rams are. The Rams, if Stafford and Kupp are healthy, that makes them dangerous. Excuse me. And then if Aaron Donald is out there playing, that's going to be, a massive force of nature taking you out. So there's definitely a lot of variables that go into this, with this whatchamacallit, with this time of year. So that's why I say I don't try to get too heavy into the wins and losses until I get to September 1st, because I like to know who's on a roster, who's not on a roster, who is going to, like, who's going to make a team. Like Rob Motti, you just heard Rob Motti tell us about 30 minutes ago. He said, I had the Bengals as my too early favorite to go to the Super Bowl from the AFC. Well, the problem is now the Bengals, they could start the year really, really, really struggling. And without having all the details, let's assume that Joe Burrow being out several weeks means literally like 8 to 10 weeks. Like, let's take the high end of that number. Well, if Joe Burrow is out and unavailable to play for 8 to 10 weeks, he's probably not coming back until the beginning to mid-October. There's a possibility that if Joe Burrow is out for that long and the Bengals struggle that much without him, they could start their season 0-4 or 1-3. So time will tell how much of this schedule is really going to come about. By the way, Jeff in Ocean City says, I remember that December 1st game in Miami in 2019. It was so freaking hot. He's yeah, that game, I heard from a lot of people who went down to that game. They said that was so ridiculously hot that they had trouble even focusing, and they wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles had trouble focusing in that game too. So Jeff in Ocean City, good chime in for you. Yeah, the Eagles' schedule is going to be interesting, and I'm looking forward to see how this training camp plays out. As I've told you guys before, I think that the biggest position battle, at least for me, is going to be safety. Number 2 is running back. No, number 2 is right guard, not running back. Number 3 is running back. Because I'm starting to get the feeling that after what we're seeing in practice, hearing from Nick Sirianni, the Eagles think they're going to have a plan in place for all these running backs. These running backs are not just coming in here competing for a job, and that will be the guy who gets the number 1 spot. I get the feeling that the Eagles, they already have an idea of what they want from Swift, Penny, Gainwell, Scott. I think the bigger question is who's the right guard, because currently right now you have nobody on this team who has significant right guard experience. You know, Tyler Steen, their draft pick, he played tackle, not guard. Cam Jurgens, he only has played center in his career. He's never been a guard because they had to develop him into a center in Nebraska. And then Jack Driscoll, he might have a couple games started at right guard, but do they value Driscoll more as the swing backup guy, or they actually give him a legit shot at right guard? So, yeah, to me, those are the two biggest questions coming in to this season. Paul from Ocean City chimes in at 609-403-0997. Get to Paul one more text before we hit the break. Says, Josh, I definitely think the NFC East will be tougher this year. Daboll is a good coach. We'll have the Giants more competitive. McCarthy calling plays in Dallas could be an advantage for us. Playing the Giants at the end hopefully won't mean nothing. I'm hoping we stay healthy, and if so, I like our chance. But my prediction for the season is 12-5. That's from Paul in Ocean City. Well, Paul, I think your 12-5 is very fair. I'm conflicted on the McCarthy thing in Dallas because I think McCarthy is not a great head coach, but he might be a better play caller than he is a head coach. You know, we heard Emory Hunt bring up last week about how McCarthy was such a good play caller with New Orleans, how he's a good play caller in the early years with the Green Bay Packers, that maybe McCarthy getting back to that would help him be a better coach. But does him being less of a head coach, more of a play caller, does that help or hurt this team in Dallas? And I agree with you. I think Daboll has this team moving in the right direction with the Giants. I think the Giants are going to be a dangerous team again for a lot of teams this year. And they're better than they were last year. They've shored up the offensive line. Darren Waller plays 13 of the 17 games. He's a massive offensive upgrade for them. And they have a motivated Saquon Barkley wants to go out there and show the world that he still deserves to be looked at and treated as one of the best running backs in the NFL. So, Paul and Osia, I do agree with you on a couple of those points there. 609-403-0973 is the text board. Your DMs into the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. I'm Josh Hennig, filling for Mike Gill on a Monday edition. One more segment coming up here on the Sports Bash on 973 ESPN.
You haven't downloaded the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app? Well, go get it now to follow all the Philly sports teams at 97.3ESPN.com. Powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
0, 0, 0. Get your zeros here. That's a zipper zero zilcha.
No, that's not it. Get low APR financing at Matt Blatt Nissan with 0 interest on every new Nissan in stock.
Oh, yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Put 0 down, pay 0% financing, or make 0 payments for 90 days on every Matt Blatt Nissan in stock. Plus, with your job clearing $450 per week at Matt Blatt Nissan, you're virtually approved. If other dealers are telling you that you're stuck in a loan or lease, AJ the Trade Man can get you released, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth, and you can't buy a new ride anywhere else with peace of mind, like Matt Blatt Nissan's exclusive 4-day love it or leave it return policy. Only at MattBlattNissan.com. Unapproved Tier 1 credit through NEMAC. Negative equity will be refinanced into new vehicle plus tax tag and $589 doc fee. Offers can't be combined. Call 877-289-6670 or go to MattBlattNissan.com for complete details. Offer ends 8/6/2023. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan. The Black Horse Pike. Egg Harbor Township.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply or apply. Stop, opt out. Go to nomoredraftywindows.com for full offer details.
Attention all homeowners. Do you know when to replace your windows? Feeling too hot or cold? It's time to replace. Fog between the glass. Time to replace. Spending too much on expensive energy that literally goes out the window? It's definitely time to replace. If you've put off replacing windows in your home because it's too expensive, here's great news. You can now get a free in-home window consultation and free price quote from Renewal by Andersen, the company with the most 5-star reviews among leading full-service window replacement companies. And right now you can save $359 off every window and $887 off every door. Just text PLACE to 200-300 for your free consultation on top quality affordable windows or patio doors for $0 down, 0 payments, and 0 interest for a year. That's right, you don't pay a dime for an entire year. Plus save $359 off every window and $887 off every door. But hurry, these big dollar savings end this month. Text PLACE to 200-300 right now. Text the word PLACE to 200-300. Don't wait, text PLACE to 200-300.
Kentucky Fried Chicken's new Ultimate Barbecue Fried Chicken Sandwich. An extra crispy filet loaded with hickory smoked bacon, cheese, crispy onions, and sweet honey barbecue sauce. It tastes just like summer, but like the good part of summer, not leaving the tent door open and waking up to a swarm of mosquitoes, 2 chipmunks, and 1 very, very large woodchuck. Anyway, try KFC's new Ultimate Barbecue Fried Chicken Sandwich. It's a barbecue in every bite. That's finger-licking good. For a limited time at participating locations while supplies last, prices may vary.
The extracurricular activities, the traffic, the nightly homework, the traffic, the finding time to eat dinner together as a family, the traffic. Back to school can be stressful. Thanks to Ziploc, meal prep doesn't have to be. New Ziploc bags with Stay Open design have a patented stand-up bottom that helps keep the bag upright and a top crease that folds and holds for easy filling, unlocking a second set of hands in the kitchen. If only it unlocked a second set of lanes. New Ziploc brand freezer and storage bags with Stay Open design from SC Johnson, a family company.
Now your ideas don't have to wait. Now they have everything they need to come to life. Dell Technologies and Intel are creating technology that loves ideas, loves expanding your business, evolving your passions. We push what technology can do, so great ideas can happen right now. Find out how to bring your ideas to life at Dell.com. Welcome to Now.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Staples has big savings on everything you need for back to school or stocking up the office. Save on signs, banners, and posters from Staples Print and Marketing Services. Save on everything you need for travel, like luggage, tech, and travel-size personal items. Plus, save on all your school essentials, from notebooks to markers. Now at Staples, you can save even more with $25 back in rewards on your in-store purchase of $75 or more. Get everything for the office and the classroom for less at Staples. Ends 8/5. Redeemable in-store only. Rewards members only.
Welcome back to Total Wine.
Hey, Ruthie, I need help filling the ultimate beach cooler.
Well, we have the most hard seltzers and amazing canned cocktails anywhere, and at the lowest prices in town. Always find what you love and love what you find. Only at Total Wine & More. Drink responsibly. 21.
Now,
Final segment of the show, Josh Hennig been filling in for Mike Gill throughout the day on 97.3 ESPN. Mike will be back in tomorrow. I'll be back on game night tomorrow, starting tomorrow night at 6 o'clock on 97.3 ESPN. Before we get out of here, let's squeeze a couple more texts from the listeners at 609-403-0973. That's the text board. Your DMs into 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Dan in EHT says, I'm not worried about the Eagles at all. Laurie, Roseman, and Sirianni, not concerned. I'm overreacting this Monday about the Phillies, says Dan in EHT. Hard to believe Real Muto and Turner are having the worst offensive years of their career. They had to put Real Muto, Turner, and Castellanos 7, 8, 9. And, well, they have listened to you, Dan and EHT, because Castellanos isn't even playing tonight. And they kicked Turner way down the lineup. So I guess they're kind of doing that. There's two problems with this lineup. Is one, you can't kick these guys too far down because then you're practically embarrassing them. You know, and the thing is, somebody's got to fill in the slot. I think that this lineup today is probably the best you're going to get for the time being, and that being Schwarber 1, Bone 2, Harper 3, Realmuto 4, Stack 5, Turner 6, Mark 7, Jake Gave 8 playing first base, Rojas 9. I think that's going to be the best you're going to get until they actually acquire a guy, you know, whether that be someone like an Adam Duvall or Teoscar Hernandez or some of the other guys who've been rumored out there. You know, I would assume that they are how do I put this? I feel like the Phillies are going to make a move, okay? From everything I've heard and read, they're going to make a trade. There's no way they don't. The question is, who are they going to trade? What are they going to give up? What are they going to get in return is the problem. So my working assumption is that will get done. I think that ultimately the Phillies are going to make a trade. I just can't tell you what the trade is. I don't know what it is. I told you guys earlier, you know, if it's someone like Adam Duvall, Teoscar Hernandez, I like it, but I don't know how much it changes this team around. Unless going to go crazy and make some blockbuster move, I don't foresee them making a trade that's going to drastically change this team, which means it gets back to, as Danny said, if these guys are having bad years, you got to get these guys to have better years. You got to get them to have some accountability, start playing better. Stop overthinking. Stop whatever it is. Phillies Marlins tonight. Eagles training camp this week. All that and more to come this week on 97.3 ESPN.
South Jersey business owners, when Eagles football returns to the airwaves this season, don't miss out. Make sure your business is a part of the Philadelphia Eagles season with Merrill Reese and Mike Quick on 97.3 ESPN. Touchdown! Every week, the NFL's most passionate fan base flocks to 97.3 ESPN radio to listen to their favorite team, the Philadelphia Eagles. Advertising with the Eagles can help your business connect with the consumers you are trying to reach. 97.3 ESPN is the most listened to sports source in all of South Jersey. That's what makes 97.3 ESPN such a powerful station for your business's message. So this Eagles season, don't have your business sitting on the sidelines. Be a part of the Philadelphia Eagles season on 97.3 ESPN. To be a part of the Eagles season, call Market President Mike Rubel at 609-910-5249.